Chapter 530. Soon, the two of them arrived at Lin Jiej's apartment. After the car came to a stop, Yao got out and jogged over to Lin Jiej's side to open the car door for him. After Lin Jiej got out of the car, Yao ran over to the back of the car, opened the trunk, and took out the two large bags that Lin Jiej had bought from the supermarket. The weight of a single bag wasn't too bad, but with two bags stacked together it seemed a little heavy. When Yao passed the bags over to Lin Jiej, she subconsciously asked, "Are you sure you can carry them up alone?" Lin Jiej calmly nodded his head. Then he stretched out his uninjured left hand and took the two bags from Yao's fingertips. When the weight of the two bags was in his hands, Lin Jiej intentionally leaned his body to the left, feigning as if he was being pulled by the weight of the bags. After which, he calmly straightened his body, and as if nothing had happened, he turned to Yao and said calmly, "Drive slowly on your way back." Noticing Lin Jiej's subtle movements earlier, Yao stared at the two bags in his hands for a moment before asking hesitantly, "Are you sure you can carry them up?" "Of course I can," Lin Jiej replied nonchalantly. "Oh." Yao continued to stare at the two bags in Lin Jiej's left hand for a moment, and only after seeing that he didn't show any signs of strain did she finally relax. She raised her head and smiled at Lin Jiej, saying, "I'll be leaving first then. Take care of yourself. If you feel unwell tonight, feel free to give me a call." Lin Jiej replied with a nonchalant before turning to Yao and saying goodbye. "Goodbye." After bidding farewell, Yao turned around and got into the car. While she was putting on her seatbelt, she glanced at Lin Jiej through the car window and saw that he was backing away from her with the bags in his hands. Seeing that he didn't seem to be in any trouble, Yao felt reassured and stepped on the accelerator. As the car slowly drove forward for a short distance, Yao saw through the rearview mirror that Lin Jiej was heading toward the building with two large bags in his hands. But barely after taking 2 steps, one of the bags in his left hand slipped from his fingers, and the contents inside fell to the ground. He stopped in his tracks. Probably because his right hand was injured, he could not move much. It was very strenuous for him to bend down. He tried to pick up the things on the ground several times, but to no avail. Upon seeing this sight, Yao immediately stepped on the brakes and reversed the car back to Lin Jiej's side. She glanced around and seeing that there was an empty parking lot by the side, she quickly reversed the car into the parking lot before pushing open the car door. She hurriedly got out of the car and ran over to Lin Jiej's side. Squatting down, she began picking up the things that he had dropped one by one. After which, she took one of the bags from his hands and said, "There's quite a lot of things here, so I'll send you home first." Lin Jiej, who had been putting on a show earlier, didn't show the slightest hint of joy upon seeing that his plan had succeeded. Instead, he looked at Yao apologetically and said, "I've troubled you." Chapter 531. Lin Jiej, 21st floor. Yao replied with an, "Okay." When the elevator doors opened, she stepped into the elevator first. Then she stretched out her hand to block the elevator door, so that it wouldn't crush Lin Jiej when the doors closed. It was only after Lin Jiej stepped into the elevator that Yao retracted her hand and pressed the 21st floor and close button. As this was a high-class residential area, there was only one elevator per household. Thus, it didn't take long for the elevator to reach the 21st floor and stop. The doors opened, and there was only a single door in the majestic corridor. There was no need for Yao to ask which household was Lin Jiej's. Walking up to the door, Yao turned to look at Lin Jiej, and just as he was about to open the door, the latter suddenly said, "The password is 666666. Yao was taken aback for a moment before realizing that Lin Jiej was referring to the password to his house. Thus she quickly keyed in the password. With a gotcha, the door was unlocked. Just the entrance alone is already so lavish. It's almost as luxurious as the kitchen at my house," Yao muttered in her heart as she hurriedly stepped aside to let the door open for her to enter. After entering, Lin Jiej casually placed the bag in his hand on the floor before bending down to open the shoe cabinet. He took out 2 pairs of brand new men's slippers and said, "I didn't prepare any ladies' slippers, so you'll have to make do with them." Yao replied with an before placing the bag in her hand on the floor as well. She then untied her shoelaces and changed into her slippers. When Yao got up, she saw Lin Jiej untying his shoelaces with one hand. The shoelaces were tied with a loose button, but perhaps he hadn't pulled it open yet and ended up being tied tightly. He struggled for a long time with one hand, but he was still unable to undo it. Without thinking too much into it, Shi Yao reached out to take the shoelaces from Lin Jiej's fingers and said, "Let me do it." The tips of her fingers touched his. Lin Jiej's body trembled slightly, but he didn't say a word. Instead, he raised his head to look at Shi Yao. The young lady's head was slightly lowered, and she was focused on untying his shoelaces. She was squatting while he was bending his body slightly. He was much taller than her, and from his angle, he could see that her eyelashes were astonishingly long, and the tip of her nose was also very perky. Staring at Shi Yao intently, Lin Jiej couldn't help but fall into a trance. Done. It didn't take long for Shi Yao to untie Lin Jiej's shoelaces. Before she stood up, she even placed Lin Jiej's slippers by his feet. Seeing that Lin Jiej still hadn't changed his shoes, Shi Yao straightened her back and shot a glance at him. Before she could say a word, Lin Jiej had already reined in his thoughts. With a lowered head, he silently changed his shoes before bending down to pick up the bag on the floor and walked into the living room. Shi Yao grabbed the other bag and followed behind Lin Jiej. Due to Lin Jiej's limited mobility, Shi Yao made a simple categorization of the items in his bag. She placed the snacks in the cabinet in the living room, the fruits in the dining room, and the daily necessities in the bathroom in Lin Jiej's bedroom. Fearing that it would be troublesome for Lin Jiej to use it, Shi Yao even unpacked his toothbrush, toothpaste and the like. By the time she was done packing up, she walked out of the bathroom, only to see Lin Jiej changing the bedsheets with one hand. Without any hesitation, Shi Yao ran over to take over Lin Jiej's task and said, "Let me do it. I'll go brush my teeth first." Hearing Lin Jiej's words, Shi Yao's lips curled up into a smile and she nodded. Chapter 532. Hearing the commotion, Shi Yao tossed aside the bedsheets and ran into the bathroom without any hesitation. "What's wrong?" As the words left her lips, Shi Yao saw the toothpaste on the floor and Lin Jiej biting on the toothbrush. It was such a hilarious and bizarre sight that Shi Yao had to stare at it for a few seconds before she realized what was going on. Since Lin Jiej was unable to move his right hand, he could only squeeze out the toothpaste with his left hand. Shi Yao walked forward and bent down to pick up the toothpaste. She grabbed a few napkins from the side and wiped the toothpaste off the floor. After which, she took the toothbrush from Lin Jiej's mouth and helped him squeeze out the toothpaste and rinse the mouthwash. After making sure that he could handle the rest with one hand, she returned to the bedroom and helped him put on the bedsheets and blanket. By the time Lin Jiej was done brushing his teeth, Shi Yao was still busy with the bedsheets. He pointed to the door and told her to boil some hot water before leaving the bedroom. After closing the door to the bedroom, Lin Jiej didn't head to the dining room. Instead, he headed straight to the entrance and carefully examined the bag, phone, and car keys that Shi Yao had casually placed on the cabinet. After a few seconds, he discreetly hid the car keys under the shoe cabinet before heading to the dining room. Lin Jiej picked up a bottle of mineral water, but he wasn't in a hurry to unscrew the cap. Instead, he waited until the door to the bedroom opened before he used his left hand to twist the cap here and there. Seeing that the cap wasn't open, he raised the bottle to his lips. Just as he was about to bite down on it, Shi Yao's voice sounded, let me," following which Lin Jiej heard the sound of her footsteps running over. Following which, the bottle of mineral water fell into Shi Yao's hands, and she twisted the cap open. As Lin Jiej poured the mineral water into the hot water pot, he said to Shi Yao, "Thank you. It's getting late, so you should head back and rest." Shi Yao took a look around Lin Jiej's house, and thinking that he probably didn't need to do anything else for the time being, she nodded and said, "All right then, I'll be taking my leave then." Lin Jiej nodded calmly and said, "I'll send you off." Walking up to the door, Lin Jiej passed Shi Yao's bag and phone back to her. He even opened the door for her and watched as she walked into the elevator. As the elevator began to descend, Lin Jiej returned to the dining room and poured the boiling water onto the dining table. After which, he grabbed a glass cup from the side and smashed it on the floor. After which, he headed to the tap and filled it up with water. After which, he intentionally wet the front of his shirt and rubbed a certain spot on his left wrist until it turned red. Just as he had predicted, The doorbell rang after he had completed this series of actions. He wasn't in a hurry to open the door. Instead, he waited for the doorbell to ring 3 times before he walked towards the entrance. Opening the door, Lin Jie saw Shi Yao, and despite knowing the answer, he asked, "What's wrong?" "That? I didn't bring my car keys with me," Shi Yao said. A second later, she saw the wet clothes on Lin Jie's chest and the red stain on his wrist. A slight frown appeared on Shi Yao's forehead. Before Lin Jie could respond to her earlier question, she continued, "Why are your clothes wet? And your wrist, why is it red?" Chapter 533. He accidentally spilled some water when he was pouring it? Following Lin Jie's words, Shi Yao suddenly recalled that Lin Jie was boiling water before she left. Could it be that the wet patch on his chest was accidentally spilled when he was pouring hot water? And the red patch on his wrist was scalded by the hot water? With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao's frown deepened. "Are you done pouring water?" "Not yet. I'll help you look for the key first," Lin Jie said as he flipped through the items placed on the cabinet by the entrance. "I'll go pour some water for you first then. I'll look for the key later," Shi Yao said as she headed for the dining room. "There's no need for that, I can do it myself. I found the key." Before Lin Jie could finish his words, Shi Yao had already reached the dining room's entrance. Then, looking at the scene in the dining room, she suddenly halted her footsteps. The kettle was still open, and the boiling water was still emitting steam. The shattered glasses were scattered all over the place, and the dining table was covered in water, so her earlier conjectures were right. She had only been gone for a short 2 to 3 minutes, and in that short time, she and the dining room had been reduced to such a state. Seeing that Shi Yao wasn't saying a word, Lin Jie walked over to her with the key that he had hidden earlier and said, "I found the key." The young lady didn't take it, her gaze still fixed on the dining room. Lin Jie pushed the key closer to Shi Yao and said, "I dropped it on the floor." Shi Yao's eyes flickered slightly as she came back to her senses. Her gaze fell from the dining room to Lin Jie's palm. But instead of looking at the car key, she was looking at the red patch on his wrist. It wasn't a serious burn, but when Shi Yao thought about how he could no longer move his right arm, her heart softened, and an indescribable sense of guilt and heartache welled up in her heart. If he hadn't appeared in time, who knew what would have happened to her in Nuanyuan? He was injured because of her, and it was also because of her that he beat those people up so badly. He was afraid that she would be frightened by the bloody scene, so he even covered his eyes. He didn't want his family to worry, so he stayed in his apartment alone. If she hadn't seen the bags he was carrying scattered all over the floor, she would have sent him upstairs and covered him with the bedsheets. And when he brushed his teeth, when he twisted the bottle cap, as Shi Yao recalled the events that had transpired earlier, one scene after another flashed across her mind, and she couldn't help but blame herself. She had been careless and careless. He couldn't even move his right hand, yet she still wanted to send him home alone and return to school. Seeing that Shi Yao was staring blankly at her wrist, Lin Jie couldn't help but ask once more, "Yao?" Hearing those words, Shi Yao's eyelashes fluttered as she turned her gaze back to the dining hall. Following her gaze, Lin Jie saw the shattered glass cup on the floor, and he said, "That. I'm used to using my right hand, but I suddenly couldn't move it, so I felt a little uncomfortable. I wasn't paying attention earlier and accidentally broke it." Shi Yao pursed her lips, but she still didn't say a word. Instead, she turned to look at Lin Jie's house, which was around 5 times bigger than theirs. Chapter 534. Extra bedroom? Why is she asking this? Could it be that she wants to stay here? With his meticulous planning, he finally managed to lure her into his house? Suppressing the frenzied joy in his heart, he feigned a confused look and asked, "What's wrong?" "It's just that." Before Shi Yao could finish her words, her face had already reddened. "For a woman like me to take the initiative to stay at a man's house to take care of him, isn't that a little too unreserved? But if I were to leave just like that, I would really be worried about him. Forget it, he's already in such a pitiful state, homeless, so I shouldn't dwell on it too much. I'll just treat it as me repaying my debt of gratitude." With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao spoke up once more. In the end, she was still too shy, so her tone became much softer and more timid. "Can I stay at your house?" When those words left her mouth, Shi Yao really wanted to bite off her tongue. Even if she wanted to repay his kindness, there was no need for her to say it so directly, right? What do you mean by can I stay at your house, and can I sleep in your bed? In the next second, realizing that there was something wrong with her words, Shi Yao hurriedly tried to explain herself. No, that's not what you're thinking, Pui. What do you mean it's not what you're thinking? Suppressing the urge to slap herself unconscious, Shi Yao gulped down 2 mouthfuls of saliva. With a reddened face, she continued rambling on. Perhaps it was because she was too agitated, but the more she tried to explain, the more ambiguous she became. That's not right either. What I meant was, lend me your bed to sleep in. Is there something wrong with me? Why did I just blurt out the words that were in my mind? Shi Yao felt her face burning even hotter. She stuttered, for a long while before she finally managed to finish her sentence. You're injured and it's because of me. You're afraid that your family will worry about you. So you're staying here alone. I'm a little worried about you, so if you have an extra bedroom, can you lend it to me? I'll stay here so that I can take care of you if anything happens to you. It was only after Shi Yao was done explaining everything that she had to say that she heaved a sigh of relief. While trying to calm her flustered little heart, she was also glad that her brain hadn't completely shut down yet. After listening to Shi Yao's words, Lin Jiej finally nodded in realization and replied with an "oh." Then he casually pointed to a few rooms and said, other than the storage room, the study room, the gym room, and the lounge room, you can stay in whichever room you like. Lin Jiej hesitated for a moment before a thought occurred to him. If he allowed Soft Bun to choose, what if she ended up choosing the room furthest away from him? So he opened his mouth again and said, why don't you stay in that room? That room faces the sun and is spacious. It's exactly the same layout as my bedroom. Since Lin Jiej was the host, there was no way Shi Yao would have any objections. She quickly nodded and said, sure. Lin Jiej didn't say a word. Instead, he led Shi Yao toward the room next to his bedroom. Chapter 535. Lin Jiej's words were filled with guilt and politeness, leaving Shi Yao feeling a little embarrassed. Without thinking too much about it, she shook her head vehemently and said, no. Besides, I'm staying at your place, so I should be the one troubling you. Besides, you got injured because of me, so it's only right for me to take care of you. Then I'll be counting on you to take care of me for the time being, hubby. However, Lin Jiej only managed to utter a single word before he abruptly halted. While playing with her recently, she had been calling him hubby too frequently, so much so that he nearly gave himself away just now. Not noticing anything amiss, Shi Yao smiled at Lin Jiej and said, it's fine. I'll be attending classes in a few days, so I'll be able to take care of you during the rest of the time. Lin Jiej didn't say anything else. He stood by the side for a moment before retreating out of Shi Yao's bedroom. A second after closing the door, Lin Jiej stared at it with a smile on his face. A month's time. Judging from her words, she was going to stay at his place for the next month. What was that saying again? The pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. In this month's time, I'll definitely pluck the moonlight from her. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej walked into his bedroom. While he was passing Shi Yao's toothbrush, toothpaste, and other daily necessities, he recalled the words Shi Yao had said to him at the entrance of the dining room, and his lips couldn't help but curl up once more. Soft Bun sure was straightforward. She actually asked if she could stay at his place and sleep on his bed, and she even said that it wasn't what he thought it was. What did she mean by that? But speaking of which, putting aside staying at his place and sleeping on his bed, he was more than willing to do so. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej couldn't help but shake his head. His heart was already hers, and he didn't know when his body would also belong to her. Just as Shi Yao finished putting on the bedsheets for herself, the door to the bedroom was pushed open. Lin Jiej, who had just left earlier, walked in with 2 bags in hand. These are daily necessities for you to use. These are snacks. Feel free to eat as much as you want. Oh, I see. Thank you, Shi Yao replied as she hurriedly took it from Zhang Xian. It's getting late. I'll go back and rest first. You should rest early too. Lin Jiej paused for a moment before realizing that he had left something out, so he quickly added, there are a few t-shirts in the bag of daily necessities. They're mine. You can use them for the night. With Lin Jiej's reminder, Shi Yao realized that there were indeed a few white t-shirts in the bag. She thanked him once more before bidding Lin Jiej good night. After Lin Jiej left, Shi Yao went to wash up. It was nearly 1 o'clock in the morning by the time she came out of the shower, dried her hair, and lay in bed. It was already very late, and after going through so many things today, Shi Yao was truly a little exhausted. However, perhaps it was because she had changed to an unfamiliar bed. She couldn't fall asleep even after lying on it for quite a while. After flipping around for the umpteenth time, Shi Yao suddenly saw the bag that she had casually placed on the sofa beside her. It was filled with snacks. Feeling a little insomnia, Shi Yao pulled the bag over and tore open a packet of her favorite potato chips. Chapter 536. Was she imagining things? Why did she suddenly feel that Lin Jiej had specially bought these snacks for her? And those daily necessities? It couldn't be that Lin Jiej took 2 portions just for her, could it? But how could he be sure that she would stay in his house? It can't be that he has the ability to predict the future, right? With a potato chip in her mouth, Shi Yao thought through everything that had happened that night from start to end, but she couldn't find anything wrong with it. So her misconception was really just a misconception. After finishing the potato chips, Shi Yao went to the bathroom to brush her teeth. When she returned to her bed, she suddenly remembered that her phone had been taken away by Jiang Yu and He Tian. She wondered how Lung Wan was doing. She hadn't told them that she was safe, so she wondered if they were worried about her. Shi Yao was intending to get out of bed to borrow Lin Jiej's phone. But just as she was about to get up, she caught sight of the landline on the bedside table. It had already been more than half an hour. Perhaps Lin Jiej had already fallen asleep. It would be best for her not to disturb him. After pondering for a moment, Shi Yao decided to borrow Lin Jiej's house phone for the time being. She would call her dormitory room and inform Lin Jiej the next day. Even though it was already very late at night, Shi Yao's call was swiftly picked up after a single ring. Hello? Is it Yao Yao? Shi Yao recognized it to be Jiang Yu's number, and she knew that they must be waiting for her call since they were still awake at this hour. Shi Yao felt a surge of warmth in her heart, and she replied with a soft "It's me." Jiang Yu said, "Great. Are you all right? Is Senior Lin all right?" Instead of answering Jiang Yu's question, Shi Yao first asked about Lung Nuan's condition. Where's Nuan? How is she? Nuan is fine. We brought her to the hospital for a checkup, and it's just some superficial injuries. However, she wasn't in a good mood, and she kept crying after returning to the dormitory. It wasn't easy for her to fall asleep, but she would wake up with nightmares. Yaya and I tried to coax her for a long time, but she fell asleep again. This time the one who spoke was not Jiang Yu but He Tian. Most likely He Tian was the one who snatched Jiang Yu's phone away. Shi Yao, I might not be able to go back tonight, so I'll have to trouble you two to take care of Nuan. Jiang Yu said, of course. He Tian Chem? Is there a situation? Shi Yao could hear the hint in He Tian's words, and her face reddened in embarrassment. Tian, don't spout nonsense. It's Lin Jiej. He's injured and I have to take care of him. He Tian, what? How did my idol get injured? Is it serious? Shi Yao. It's a light fracture in his arm. It'll take a month for him to recover. He Tian, my heart aches for you. Oh right, there's something that I almost forgot. Senior Lin was super dashing tonight. And when he found out that you were in the washroom, he asked Senior Lu to bring the 3 of us away. Senior Lu was worried about him, so he offered to stay behind to accompany him. Do you know what Senior Lin said? If I can't even protect the girl I like, what kind of man am I? He couldn't even protect the girl he liked. The girl he liked. Listening to He Tian's words, Shi Yao was stunned. On the other end of the line, Jiang Yu also spoke up. That's right. Yao Senior Lin's boyfriend power is really off the charts tonight. Also, he's really cunning. He actually told Senior Lu to call the police later so that he could beat up those trash for a while longer. Yao, isn't he really dashing? Oh. Chapter 537. Right after Jiang Yu said those words, Shi Yao heard someone knocking on the bedroom door behind her. He Tian. He's indeed handsome, but I would like to express my meek opinion. I think that there's a little bit of a cheapskate mixed in with his handsome beyond the horizon. However, Senior Lin is my Adonis, so even if he's a little cheapskate, he's still a handsome cheapskate. Handsome cheapskate, handsome cheapskate. This description sure is unique. Just as Shi Yao was deep in thought over He Tiantian's words, someone knocked on the bedroom door behind her once more. On the other end of the call, Zhang Yu echoed He Tiantian's words. That's right. If Tian hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have realized it. Now that she's saying it, I also think that Senior Lin's words are a cheapskate, but it's so cute. It's only today that I realize that Senior Lin isn't just a school hunk, a genius and a Adonis. He's also an extremely black-bellied wolf. He Tian chuckled, and her voice was clearly laced with lust. So, Yao Yao is a little white rabbit that will be eaten by a wolf sooner or later? Zhang Yu also chuckled sinisterly. The ice cream ball. Shi Yao could clearly feel a few black lines creeping down her forehead. Why did it feel like her roommate wasn't her roommate but Lin Jiej's roommate instead? Shi Yao pouted as she hurriedly cut off the two chattering people on the other end of the call. Well, I'll talk to you guys later. It's getting late, so take care of Nuan and rest early. Lin Jiej is looking for me, so I have to go and see how he's doing. Yo, forgetting your maiden home after getting married. He Tian, who was still immersed in her earlier joke, subconsciously teased. What do you mean forgetting your maiden home after getting married? Lin Jiej is a man, so I should be the one marrying him, alright? Pooey. It's not like I'm marrying him, so why would I want him to marry me? With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao called out Tundang. Zhang Yu's tone was a lot more serious, but it didn't intimidate the two people on the other side of the phone at all. When Zhang Yu spoke again, her tone was even more exaggerated. In the middle of the night, a man and a woman alone, dry wood and raging fire. It's so exciting just thinking about it. I'll remember to take precautions, but it's okay if you don't. If you're pregnant, just give birth. We'll help you take care of the child. Hearing those words, Shi Yao's face reddened a little. Her tone hardened further. I don't want to eat with you anymore. Now this threat of yours is really frightening. Zhang Yu, I like this Yao Yao. She's so cute when she threatens people. Shi Yao, you. He Tian. Alright, I won't hold you and Senior Lin up any longer. After all, a moment of spring is worth 1,000 gold, and Zhang Yu and I can't afford to squander like this. If there's anything else, let's talk tomorrow. Zhang Yu, yes, you can't be so wasteful. Yao Yao is carrying on the family line for our dormitory. What the hell? Carrying on the family line. Shi Yao suppressed her urge to fly into a rage, but before she could say anything, the two people on the other side of the phone had already said, bye-bye, sleep well before hanging up. Sleep well. Sleep well. Hearing the busy tone on the phone, Shi Yao really wanted to smash the phone. But just as she was about to smash the phone, she remembered that it was Lin Jiej's phone. So she held back and placed the phone back to its original spot. After which, she stood up and went to open the door. Chapter 538. Shi Yao was much shorter than Lin Jiej. As soon as she opened the door, she saw Lin Jiej's chest. It was only then that she realized that Lin Jiej was still wearing the same blood-stained, wrinkled and dirty clothes he had been wearing before. Did he come here to ask for her help to change his clothes? While Shi Yao was deep in thought, Lin Jiej, who was standing at the door, asked with a very soft voice, "Did I wake you up?" Shi Yao hurriedly shook her head. Then, she turned around and pointed to the landline on the bedside table. I used your landline to call my dormitory room to ask about Nuanyuan's condition, and let them know that I'm safe. Tian and the others took my phone back to the dormitory room, and I thought that you were asleep, so I didn't want to disturb you. So, I used your house's landline. Lin Jiej replied with a nonchalant, "Oh," as if there was no need for her to inform him about such a trivial matter. Then, he shot a glance at the bedroom behind Shi Yao and asked, "Can I go in?" "Yes. This is my house, so of course he can." Shi Yao quickly stepped aside to let him in. After Lin Jiej entered the room, Shi Yao closed the door behind her and followed him all the way to the sofa behind the bed. Lin Jiej didn't sit down immediately. Instead, he turned to Shi Yao and pointed to an empty seat on the sofa. "You sit." Shi Yao was confused, but she still obediently walked over and sat down. A second after she sat down, Lin Jiej was already half-squatting in front of her. He was tall, so when she sat on the sofa, they were at eye level. Yao was stunned. Just as she was about to ask him what he was doing, she saw Lin Jie opening his left hand. There were 2 peeled eggs in it. They were white and round, and they looked very alluring. Was this for her to eat? Upon seeing the food, Yao's eyes lit up. She was just about to thank him and reach out to take them when Lin Jie placed one of the eggs on her neck and slowly moved it around. Yao was stunned. It took a long while before she recovered from her daze. It turned out that the egg wasn't for her to eat but to reduce her swelling, so when he bade her good night and left, he didn't go to sleep but went to the kitchen to cook an egg instead. In an instant, an indescribably complicated feeling filled Yao's heart. Her fingertips trembled slightly as she stared fixedly at Lin Jie's face. He tilted his head slightly and stared at her neck very seriously. He used the egg to gently reduce the swelling on her neck. The only light in the room was the bedside lamp. The dim yellow light shone on the right side of his face, causing his handsome face to be hidden in the dark and lit up in the light. He looked even more breathtaking and enchanting. She had always known that he was very good-looking, but she had never really taken a good look at his face. Perhaps it was because he didn't dare to, or perhaps there were other reasons. Now that she thought about it carefully, she realized that there was a reason why so many girls in G University were chasing after him. People like him were born to shine brightly and be looked up to by others, right? Whoever accepted this kind of boy would never feel safe for the rest of their lives, right? While Yao was deep in thought, she suddenly felt a slight pain on her cheek. Chapter 539. Noticing Yao's subtle reaction, Lin Jie asked with a hint of nervousness in his voice, "Does it hurt a lot?" As he asked those words, Yao could clearly feel the pressure from his fingertips growing softer and softer. Yao shook her head lightly. "It doesn't hurt that much." After a moment of silence, Yao couldn't help but voice out the conjecture she had been harboring earlier. "Didn't you return to your room to rest?" Lin Jie, who was staring at Yao's face as he carefully helped her reduce the swelling with the egg, was unable to comprehend the meaning behind her words for a moment, and he replied with a soft Left with no choice, Yao could only clarify her words. "I mean, after you left my room, you didn't go to rest but went to the cafeteria to cook an egg? So that's what you mean." Lin Jie replied with another but this time, his tone had turned from a question to a statement. "It's really as I thought." Yao bit down on her lower lip lightly. "You're injured, so why didn't you go and rest?" "I'm fine. The bruises and swelling will disappear on their own in 2 days." "I was afraid that you'd be in pain at night," Lin Jie replied calmly. "I was afraid that you'd be in pain at night." It was just 5 simple words, but they filled Yao's heart with warmth. When she spoke again, her voice had become much softer and gentler. "What about you? Does your arm hurt a lot?" "Me?" Raising his head, Lin Jie's lips curled up into a faint smile. Then, as if paying it no heed, he replied, "I'm fine, liar. You can't move your arm for an entire month, and you still say that you're fine." Yao didn't say a word, but her eyelids slowly drooped. In truth, she wasn't the sentimental type, but for some reason, she found herself unable to control her emotions at this moment. It took a long while before Yao managed to calm herself down. Breaking the silence in the room, she asked, "Why were you at the KTV today?" "Oh, I went to karaoke with my roommate, and my room happened to be right next to yours. When I passed by your room, I heard your roommate say that something happened to you, so it was such a coincidence." However, Yao didn't lament over this coincidence for too long. Instead, with a hint of relief as if she had just survived a calamity, she said, "It's fortunate that you appeared. Otherwise, I really don't know what would have happened to me in Yuanyuan. You have no idea how overboard they were. They forced me to apologize to Liang Mumu, and they even said things like want. Yao repeated the word want several times, but she couldn't bring herself to say the words play me to death. But after stumbling for a moment and finally falling silent, she realized that she had actually told Lin Jie everything that had happened that night, as if she was venting her grievances. Oblivious to her thoughts, Lin Jie noticed that she had paused halfway through her words. He raised his head to look at her, and seeing the indescribable look in her eyes, he immediately realized that what she was going to say next wouldn't be anything good. A deep frown formed on his forehead, and his voice turned cold and sharp as he asked, "What do you want?" It wasn't as if Shi Yao had never seen Lin Jiege angry before. Back then, when Grandpa Lin forced her to become his fiancée, he had already warned her fiercely. Chapter 540. But the current him was completely different from the him from back then. The current him was filled with killing intent and viciousness, making him look far more frightening than before. Shi Yao knew that Lin Jiege's reaction wasn't directed at her, but she still couldn't help but cower back in fear. With a soft voice she replied, "It's nothing." Seeing Shi Yao's reaction, Lin Jiege realized that he had lost control of his emotions earlier. In truth, even if she hadn't said anything, he knew that those people would surely have insulted her with their words later on. He suddenly felt a little regretful that he hadn't pummeled those scum to death earlier. However, a narrow-minded person like him wouldn't let it go so easily. He had already made a note in the little notebook at the bottom of his heart. When the time came, he would catch them and continue to ruthlessly beat them to death. But the most important matter at hand was still soft bun. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiege suppressed the rage in his heart and spoke once more. His tone was much gentler than before. "Were you frightened today?" This was a suicidal question. If he had really frightened Soft Bun and those scum, what awaited them wouldn't be him grabbing hold of them and pummeling them again and again. Not only so, he would even have to tell that money grubber Lin Jie to help him pummel them. Shi Yao shook her head and replied honestly, "No, I wasn't frightened. I just felt a little disgusted. I didn't really like the way they looked at me, and I didn't really like the words they said either. They were just really annoying. Let those scum be lucky and have a good life." With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiege glanced at Shi Yao and said, "It's fine. They won't look at you like that anymore. And they won't dare to say those words to you anymore." While he was speaking, Lin Jiege had already finished treating the bruises on Shi Yao's face, neck and wrist. He casually placed the 2 eggs on the table by the side before looking into Shi Yao's eyes and asking, "Do you feel any discomfort anywhere else?" Shi Yao shook her head and replied no. After hearing Shi Yao's reply, Lin Jiege still assessed her from head to toe. After confirming that she was fine, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. After which, he stared into Shi Yao's eyes and said, "No matter where you go in the future, remember to bring your phone with you so that you can call for help in time. If you call 110 and no one picks up, you can call me. Don't worry, I will answer your call 24/7. From now on, I'll be your 110. I promise to protect you." "I'm your 110. I promise to protect you." Shi Yao suddenly recalled the conversation between He Tian and Jiang Yu when she called her roommates earlier. "If I can't even protect my own girl, what kind of man am I? Call the police later, so I can beat them up a little longer." Shi Yao felt as if a certain chord in the depths of her heart had been violently plucked by something, causing her to tremble uncontrollably. To her, such a person was very unfamiliar. She had never felt this way in her life. Shi Yao subconsciously clenched her fists tightly. She didn't know what she should say, so after a long moment of contemplation, she could only reply with a soft, "Thank you." Chapter 541. What I'm Willing to Do. Since when did Lin Jiege become so good at talking? Without thinking too much into it, Shi Yao blurted out the words that had been bothering her in her mind. "There's something different about you. What is it?" Lin Jiege was perplexed. Hearing Lin Jiege's question, Shi Yao realized that she had let the cat out of the bag, and she chuckled in embarrassment. Since she had already said it out loud, she might as well get straight to the point. "What I mean is that you're a little different from the you that I know." "What do you mean?" Perhaps it was because Lin Jiege was feeling a little uncomfortable from squatting for too long, so he stood up and casually sat down on the sofa by the side. It was a very casual action, but Shi Yao couldn't help but take a few more glances at him. Was she under some kind of spell today? Why did Lin Jiege's casual action seem so alluring? Shi Yao hurriedly retracted her gaze from Lin Jiege and tried her best to compose herself as she replied, "That's right. The you that I know is arrogant, venomous, and aloof. You're also a little disrespectful, and it's hard to get along with you." As Shi Yao spoke, she suddenly realized that she hadn't been subtle enough, so she hurriedly retracted her words and concluded, "All in all, the feeling I get from him is that he's from a different world from me. The distance between us is very, 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 very far, But now that we've gotten to know each other, I realize that you're a little different from the Lin Jiej I know. He had always known that he didn't hold a high position in Softbun's heart, but he didn't think that it would be this bad. Lin Jiej was really perplexed by her words, so after listening to what she had to say, he asked half-jokingly, "It seems like you have a terrible impression of me in the past. Could it be that I've offended you before?" Due to Lin Jiej's casual tone, Shi Yao didn't think too much into it. She went along with his words and continued, "Of course. You threw 4 pieces of cake at me in the forest near our school." Lin Jiej, is that even possible? Not only that, you also said that I was a shameless person, that I was ugly, dirty, and shabby. You even dragged me to the corner of your backyard and warned me not to talk to you outside. You also told me to pretend that I didn't know you, and not to let anyone know about our relationship. Oh, that's right, you also said that if you were to marry me, then your name would be... Before Shi Yao could say "write it backwards," she suddenly froze. She seemed to have gone overboard. Shi Yao shot a glance at Lin Jiej and noticed that his expression wasn't too bad, but she couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. In order to ease the atmosphere, she glanced around for a moment before her gaze finally fell on the 2 eggs that Lin Jiej had just placed on the table. Even though Shi Yao didn't finish her words, Lin Jiej could already guess what she was going to say. He once swore in front of her that if she did not break off the engagement with him, he would write his name backwards. He had always been curious as to why she didn't like him. So this was where the problem lay back then. The thought of liking her had never crossed his mind, and he spoke without restraint. But it was his unbridled actions that had hurt her. Chapter 542. Just a moment ago, Lin Jiej was still between laughter and tears when she said that she'd ruined 4 pieces of cake, but at this very moment, he was filled with guilt and frustration. He could tell that Shi Yao had become a little uncomfortable after saying those words. In truth, he had rarely cared about the feelings of others since he was young. Or rather, it could be said that he was born with a golden spoon in his mouth, so he had an innate advantage over others. He didn't need to worry too much about the feelings of others because most people were afraid that he would be unhappy, so they placed his feelings first. But for some reason he started to care about her feelings. If she was happy, he would be satisfied. If she was sad, he would be flustered. If she was displeased, he would be nervous. So he didn't want to see her acting so unnaturally at this moment. So he pretended as if nothing had happened and followed her line of sight. When he saw the 2 eggs she was staring at, he changed the topic and asked, "What are you looking at?" Hearing Lin Jiej's question, Shi Yao didn't think too much about it. She went along with her thoughts and said, "I'm trying to see if these 2 eggs can still be eaten." Lin Jiej. A second later, Lin Jiej. No. A second later, Lin Jiej. "If you want to eat them, I can cook 2 more eggs for you right now." Shi Yao hurriedly waved her hands. "There's no need for that. I know I can't eat them, but I just feel that it's shameful to waste food." Lin Jiej couldn't help but chuckle at Shi Yao's adorable reaction. After which he stood up and said, "It's really getting late. It's about time for you to rest." Shi Yao nodded vigorously and stood up as well. She was just about to send Lin Jiej out of the bedroom, but after taking 2 steps, Lin Jiej suddenly stopped. She was just about to ask him what was wrong, but Lin Jiej had already returned to the table before she could say anything. Grabbing the 2 round white eggs in his hands, he began making his way back to the bedroom. Taking in Lin Jiej's actions, Shi Yao couldn't help but feel that something was wrong. Why did she feel that Lin Jiej had taken the 2 eggs away because he was afraid that she would eat them? She wasn't that silly. After walking out of the bedroom, Lin Jiej bade her a good night. Just as he was about to close the door for her, Shi Yao suddenly remembered that she had forgotten something important, so she hurriedly asked, "Are you going to change your clothes?" As she spoke, she gestured to Lin Jiej's blood-stained clothes, and before she could finish her words, her face had already reddened. "Your arm is injured, so can you take it off? Do you need me to help you?" Shi Yao's words reminded Lin Jiej of the fact that he hadn't changed out of his clothes yet. Despite how anxious he was to answer her question, his tone remained calm and gentle as he said, "I would have forgotten about it if you hadn't reminded me. The reason why I'm here is to ask for your help." With a reddened face, Shi Yao followed Lin Jiej into his bedroom. He didn't look for his pajamas first. Instead, he started taking off his t-shirt right before Yao's eyes. As he was unable to move his right arm, Yao had to help him carefully remove it without touching his right arm. Fortunately, his clothes were loose, so it wasn't difficult to take them off. Chapter 543. He had a tall and slender figure, and he usually looked skinny. However, when he took off his clothes, his chest looked very sturdy and broad. His fair skin was smooth, and there wasn't a single flaw on it. Most of the time, Lin Jiej that Yao saw was dressed in a t-shirt or a hoodie, and even his shirt was buttoned up tightly, giving him the appearance of a clean young man. However, now that he wasn't wearing any clothes, Yao realized that his collarbones were unbelievably delicate. His arms weren't thick, but they were filled with strength. There was a slight protrusion at the joints of his wrists, giving off a sense of bony beauty. This was completely different from how he usually was. Both of them were beautiful, but the Lin Jiej that she usually found pleasing to the eye had a bewitching, stunning, and soul-stirring beauty. He was so beautiful that for a moment, Yao forgot all about her shyness and embarrassment. She stared at Lin Jiej's naked upper body in a daze. Noticing Yao's gaze, Lin Jiej showed no intention of avoiding it. He simply stood on the spot and allowed her to stare at him. In any case, it was only a matter of time before he became hers. If she wanted to look, he didn't mind letting her look at him to her heart's content. Even if she wanted to touch him, he wouldn't resist at all. Not to mention, Soft Bun's eyes were brimming with amazement. Since his character, background, and wealth weren't enough to move her heart, and only by selling his body would he be able to keep her eyes on him, he was willing to be a prostitute in a brothel. Pooey. Who's a prostitute in a brothel? I'm a man. At most I'm a cow. What cow? I'm not that kind of person. Even if I were to sell myself, I'd only sell myself to Soft Bun. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej, who had been standing in the same position for far too long, shifted his body slightly. It was a very light movement, but it alarmed the dazed Yao. The young lady's eyelashes trembled slightly before she quickly lowered her eyes, retracting her gaze from his body. Under the bright light in the bedroom, Lin Jiej could clearly see the redness that had crept up to Yao's neck and ears. Is Soft Bun getting shy from looking at me? Suppressing the glee in his heart, Lin Jiej feigned ignorance and said with a nonchalant tone, I want to take a shower. Can you help me get some plastic wrap from the restaurant and wrap my arm up? Okay. Hearing Lin Jiej's voice, Yao shot another glance in his direction, and when her gaze landed on his muscular abdomen, she hurriedly lowered her head. She stood rooted to the spot for a moment before she finally realized what Lin Jiej's words meant. She quickly replied with a all right before running out of Lin Jiej's bedroom. Rushing into the dining room, Yao paced around the dining room one round after another before she vaguely remembered that she was here to look for a plastic wrap. Thus, she absent-mindedly rummaged around for a long while before she finally returned to Lin Jiej's bedroom with a plastic wrap in her hand. Looking at the plastic wrap Yao passed over, Lin Jiej asked politely, Can you help me with this? Yao nodded her head vehemently, but she only managed to utter a single all right before she caught sight of Lin Jiej's chest through the corner of her eye, and the words that she was about to say got stuck in her throat. Chapter 544. Even though Yao tried her best to focus all of her attention on Lin Jiej's arm, when she was wrapping the plastic wrap around his arm, it was inevitable that her fingertips would come into contact with his skin, and her gaze would occasionally drift to his chest. At the start, Yao was still barely able to calm herself down, but as time went by, her hands began to tremble more and more. In the end, Yao was barely holding her breath as she mustered all of her willpower to wrap the plastic wrap around Lin Jiej's injured arm. A second later, Yao was already retreating several steps back as if she was fleeing for her life. It was only after putting some distance between her and Lin Jiej that she finally said, All right, it's done. In contrast to Yao's panic state, Lin Jiej appeared to be much more composed. Even his tone was calm and composed as usual. Thank you, but I'll have to trouble you to wait for a moment. I'll need your help to remove the plastic wrap later on. After a moment of silence, Lin Jiej asked, It won't be too much trouble for you, right? Shi Yao didn't dare to look at Lin Jie. She shook her head and replied, "And no trouble at all." Without saying a word, Lin Jie walked straight into the bathroom. As the door closed, Shi Yao closed her eyes and heaved a long sigh of relief, as if on the verge of collapse. But not long after she heaved a sigh of relief, the sound of running water could be heard from the bathroom. As the sound of running water drilled into Shi Yao's ears, the image of Lin Jie's naked upper body suddenly surfaced in her mind. His figure was really good. Just like his face, it was perfect and flawless. He had muscles, but they weren't as intimidating as those bulky muscles. His curves were perfect, and his hips were perky and tight. No matter how one looked at it, his figure was just right. Paired with his face, he looked like one of those soul-stirring handsome young men who walked out of a manga. If one were to use a popular saying on the internet to describe him, it would be, "Wearing clothes you look skinny, but when you take them off you look fleshy." Am I thinking a little too much about it? As a woman, how can I think of a man's figure like that? Not to mention, it's a naked figure. Shi Yao shook her head to dispel the image of Lin Jie's bare upper body from her mind. Then, to prevent her imagination from running wild again, she began thinking about her favorite delicacies. Malatang, Sichuan poached fish, crayfish, bullfrog, ice cream, chocolate, mango pudding, Wangzai milk. Just as Shi Yao had lost track of how many types of food she had gone through, the sound of running water in the bathroom finally stopped. Roughly 5 minutes later, the bathroom door opened, and Lin Jie walked out with a towel wrapped around his waist. Perhaps it was because of his injury, but he did not wipe his body. Water flowed down his hair, along the contours of his face, and landed on his shoulders. Then it flowed down his strong chest and into the towel on his lower abdomen. Shi Yao only took a single glance before averting her gaze in trepidation. Her cheeks, which had just gotten rid of the redness with much difficulty, started to burn again as if they were on fire. Fortunately, Lin Jie didn't remain in Shi Yao's sight for too long before heading into the changing room. Soon, the sound of a hairdryer could be heard from within. His hair was short, so it was convenient for him to blow it. Roughly a minute or two later, the changing room fell silent. A moment later, Lin Jie's voice sounded from within the changing room. "Oh, ow?" She took the clothes from Lin Jie's fingertips and helped him put them on. The t-shirt in his hand wasn't as loose as the one she had been wearing previously. Shi Yao tried several times, but it was stuck at her injured right arm. In the end, Lin Jie could only give up on this set of clothes and pick a new one. Just like before, when he placed his hand across Shi Yao's ear, his body leaned forward once more. Chapter 546. The warm sensation made Shi Yao's body shudder, following which she felt a searing heat spreading from her cheeks to her ears, all the way down to her neck. This time she didn't even dare to move a muscle. It was as if Shi Yao had been petrified. Her mind was completely blank, and it was as if her ears had gone deaf. She couldn't hear a single sound at all. When his hand came into contact with Shi Yao's cheeks, Lin Jie's body also tensed up. However, compared to the dazed Shi Yao, his rationality was still intact. He discreetly lowered his head to look at Shi Yao, who was sandwiched between his body and the cabinet. Seeing that the young lady's face was flushed red, and she didn't even dare to breathe loudly, a hint of a smile crept into his eyes. Even though Lin Jie had done so intentionally, he didn't dare to go too overboard in fear that Shi Yao would notice something amiss. So, as soon as he received the shirt, he quickly moved his hand away from Shi Yao's face and straightened his body. Then, as if he hadn't noticed what was going on, he passed the shirt back to Shi Yao and said, "Wear this. It's easier to wear." Shi Yao maintained her previous composure, not reacting at all. The smile in Lin Jie's eyes grew even more pronounced, and there was even a hint of satisfaction on his face. But roughly 10 seconds later, he regained his composure, as if the emotions he had revealed earlier were just an illusion. "Yao Yao, Yao Yao?" Lin Jie called Shi Yao's name twice before Shi Yao finally came back to her senses. She raised her head to look at the shirt Lin Jie was passing to her before looking at Lin Jie's face. A dazed. It took her a moment to realize what Lin Jie meant, and she hurriedly replied with an "oh" before taking the clothes from Lin Jiej's hands and helping Lin Jiej put them on. There were many buttons on the shirt, and Shi Yao held her breath as she helped Lin Jiej button after button. Because she was too nervous, her fingertips trembled so much that she couldn't fit the button in several times. When she was finally done with the final button, as if she had just escaped death, she raised her eyes and swiftly shot a glance at Lin Jiej's perfectly chiseled lower jaw before hurriedly saying, "All right, you should rest early. I'll be taking my leave first." After which, she retracted her fingers from the button, and before he could react, she was already intending to leave. While she was helping Lin Jiej put on his clothes earlier, there was a slight change in their positions. Lin Jiej had blocked her path from the changing room, so she was in a hurry to leave, so she didn't ask him to make way for her. Instead, she hurriedly walked around him. The marble floor was smooth to begin with, and there was a puddle of water on the floor where Lin Jiej had walked out of the bathroom. Shi Yao's footsteps were extremely quick. She was so focused on escaping that she didn't pay any attention to the situation on the floor. As a result, when she stepped onto the puddle of water, she slipped and without any warning, she fell straight toward the ground. Lin Jiej, who had intentionally poured a lot of water on the floor after coming out of the bathroom, had been waiting for this very moment. In the instant that Shi Yao's body lost its balance, he swiftly reached out with his intact left arm to pull her up. Chapter 547. The air in the room froze in an instant, and it was as if the entire space had been frozen in time. Leaning against Lin Jiej's chest, Shi Yao stood there in a daze for a long time before she realized that she was lying in a warm embrace. The shirt beneath her face was soft and of high quality. Through the shirt, she could feel the scorching warmth of his body and his powerful heartbeat. With every beat, her heart began to race uncontrollably. This embrace was truly comfortable. It was so comfortable that she wanted to just lean against it, close her eyes and stay there quietly. Immersed in this scene, it didn't take long for her to realize that she was in Lin Jiej's changing room. She was just about to leave when she realized that she was in Lin Jiej's changing room. As this thought flashed across Shi Yao's mind, she suddenly woke up. She opened her eyes, and when she saw the familiar white shirt before her, she immediately recalled what had happened earlier. While she was leaving, she accidentally slipped, and it was Lin Jiej who saved her in time, preventing her from falling to the ground. So, after falling into his embrace, she didn't immediately thank him or leave in a reserved manner. Instead, she just stood there like that. How long had she been standing there for? She was really too indiscreet. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao's face began to burn up. Without any hesitation, she tried to struggle free from Lin Jiej's embrace, but his grip on her waist was so strong that she couldn't move at all. Thus, she could only remind Lin Jiej that, "Thank you for earlier." As soon as the word "you" left Shi Yao's lips, she suddenly felt something pressing against her abdomen. Without thinking too much about it, she spoke up once more. "Why your belt?" She was about to say that the belt was pressing against her, but halfway through her words, she suddenly recalled that Lin Jiej was wearing casual pants. He wasn't wearing a belt at all. So that thing is before Shi Yao could finish her thoughts, she suddenly felt as if she had been placed in a pot of boiling water, and her face turned even redder and hotter. Following that, she clearly felt the belt moving slightly. So it's really as I thought. Lin Jiej's body is reacting to it. Then what should I do? Shi Yao's heart was filled with embarrassment and panic at the same time. She lay in Lin Jiej's embrace uneasily for a moment before exerting her strength once more in an attempt to struggle free from Lin Jiej's embrace. Not only did the youth not loosen his grip on her waist, he even tightened it. Shi Yao panicked even more, and she didn't know what to do. In a moment of desperation, she raised her leg and stomped heavily on Lin Jiej's foot. The pain caused Lin Jiej to suck in a mouthful of cold air, and he instinctively loosened his grip. Making use of this opening, Shi Yao struggled out of his embrace without any hesitation. Then she raised her hand and pushed his chest forcefully, pushing him away. Without even sparing him another glance, she dashed out of the changing room like a headless fly. Chapter 548. Shi Yao, who wasn't paying attention to where she was going, nearly rammed right into the wall. Seeing this sight before Lin Jiej could even warn her to be careful, she had already circled around the wall in front of her, and like an arrow released from a bow, she disappeared from his sight. Looking at her fleeing silhouette, Lin Jiej couldn't help but burst into laughter. Amidst his laughter, he lowered his head to look at his own body before closing his eyes. He took several deep breaths, repeating this process several times before finally entering the bathroom once more. Returning to her bedroom, Yao felt as if a wild beast was chasing after her. She slammed the door shut with a loud pung before leaping onto her bed and wrapping herself up with a blanket. Less than half a minute later, she leaped off the bed and ran barefooted to the door. After locking it from the inside, she returned to her bed and wrapped herself tightly with the blanket once more. Yao closed her eyes and lay motionlessly on the bed for a moment. She thought that she would be able to calm down by lying down like this, but she suddenly recalled the night in Shenzhen many days ago. Thinking that she had fallen asleep, Lin Jiej had pressed himself on top of her and kissed her. It seemed to have happened as well that night, just like earlier she had thought that it was his belt, but now that she thought about it, the situation that night was exactly the same as tonight. So, did he have a reaction that night too? This time it wasn't just Yao's face that was burning up. Her entire body was burning up as well. She forced her mind to blank out in an attempt to toss aside those nonsensical thoughts, but no matter how hard she tried, the image of Lin Jiej's body pressing against her abdomen still lingered in her mind. In the end, the image of his naked upper body still surfaced in her mind. I'm going crazy. Yao buried her head into the blanket and pulled at her hair furiously, trying to pull those images out of her mind. But no matter how hard she rolled around on the bed, not only did the images in her mind not dissipate, they seemed to have been enchanted instead, becoming clearer and clearer. In the end, Yao felt as if her face was really on fire, and she could even vaguely feel a slight pain from it. In the end, she couldn't take it anymore. She threw off the covers, jumped out of bed, and rushed into the bathroom. Leaning over the sink, she turned on the tap, scooped up some cold water, and started to wash her face. It was hard to tell how much water splashed onto Yao's face amidst the gushing water before her heart finally calmed down, and her breathing gradually calmed down as well. Only then did she turn off the tap and take 2 deep breaths. After confirming that she wouldn't end up like before, she grabbed a towel, wiped the water off her face, and lay back down on the bed. It was already late at night, and Yao was truly exhausted. It didn't take long for her to fall asleep meanwhile in the next room. Exiting the bathroom for the 3rd time, Lin Jiej switched on the television. It just so happened that a movie was playing on the television. Lin Jiej leaned against the headboard of his bed, and as soon as he laid down, he saw a man and a woman kissing on the screen. A slight frown appeared on his forehead. He could clearly feel the fire that he had painstakingly extinguished burning in his body once more. He hurriedly changed the channel. He didn't know if the heavens were against him, but the new channel's TV series was showing a couple with their upper bodies naked as they chatted on the bed. Chapter 549. He had no choice but to change the channel. Then he saw an American drama. The elegant and beautiful female lead was sitting on the male lead, and the two of them were passionately kissing. Instead of changing the channel, Lin Jiej switched off the television before leaping off the bed to head to the bathroom. 10 minutes later, Lin Jiej walked out of the bathroom. Due to having taken too many cold showers, he couldn't help but sneeze when the room's air conditioning blew on him. Fearing that he would catch a cold, Lin Jiej hurriedly hid under his blanket. A moment later, a hint of sorrow surfaced in his heart. He was clearly trying to seduce Soft Bun. But why did he end up getting himself dragged into a trap instead? Does this count as self-inflicted evils are the hardest to bear? Forget it, let's not think about it. Maybe I'll have to play with cold water again later. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej forced himself to close his eyes. However, this silence only lasted for around 4 minutes before his phone suddenly rang. He opened his eyes and felt around on the bed with his left hand. Then he found his phone and held it in front of his eyes. It was a video call from Lu Binlai. At this moment, Lin Jiej suddenly recalled how he had hung up on Lu Binlai's call and didn't reply to his WeChat messages back at the hospital. He must have waited for a long time, But when he didn't reply, he called again out of worry. Lin Jiej tapped on the answer button. He took a look at Lu Benlai in the video, but he quickly lost the desire to continue looking at the screen. Thus he tossed his phone to the side. Lu Benlai, boss, are you alright? One of his arms was destroyed, Soft Bun stepped on his foot, and he had to take 4 cold showers in exchange for living together with Soft Bun. Lin Jiej pondered for 2 seconds before replying, not bad. Suddenly, Xia Shangzhou's face appeared on the screen. I told you. Boss is invincible. How could anything happen to him? You worried for nothing, right? Lu Benlai. Grandson, I'm not worried. I'm just concerned. Grandson? Who are you calling grandson? Besides, was there a big difference between caring and worrying? Don't they all have hearts? Lu Benlai, it's my fault. I didn't teach you how to read and write properly. Making a video call in the middle of the night just to bicker with him? What a lunatic. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej interrupted the conversation between the two of them. Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Xia Shangzhou, yes. Xia Shangzhou. Boss, I have something to ask you. Lin Jiej couldn't be bothered to reply to Xia Shangzhou. He raised his phone and glanced at it, gesturing for Xia Shangzhou to hurry up and speak. Xia Shangzhou immediately spoke. Boss, the evil woman. Xia Shangzhou paused mid-sentence. Then he chuckled and reorganized his words. Boss, sister Lin. I mean your sister, the beautiful queen. Does she have a boyfriend? Nothing. Lin Jiej replied lazily. After which, he realized what Xia Shangzhou had asked him, and he shot a cold glare at Xia Shangzhou on the screen. What are you doing? I'm telling you, Shirlai, don't even think about her. How is that possible? Big sister Lin isn't my type. My type is Yao. Chapter 550. Lu Benlai. Since you aren't interested in wooing Big Sis Lin, why did you ask her whether she has a boyfriend or not? Xia Shangzhou. Today, when Big Sis Lin arranged for me to stand in the scorching heat of 39 degrees Celsius to buy some ice cream, I suddenly thought of this question, so I came over to ask boss about it to verify the validity of my deduction. Lu Benlai. Then please tell me your conclusion. Xia Shangzhou. My conclusion is that the heavens are fair. So what if you come from a good background? So what if you're good looking? So what if you have a good figure? So what if you're rich? Just look at boss and his sister. Aren't they still single just like us? Lin Jiej, who was completely uninterested in the conversation between the two, heard Xia Shangzhou's final words, and a slight frown slowly formed on his forehead. Was old Xia trying to balance things out with him? Lin Jiej lowered his eyelids slightly. Then, as if suddenly recalling something, he spoke up nonchalantly. Right? There's something that I forgot to tell the two of you. Lu Benlai. Boss, are you intending to bring us to the Golden Resplendence? Xia Shangzhou. Or are you intending to treat us to the Beijing World Hotel? I'm sorry to disappoint you. Lin Jiej said apologetically, but there wasn't the slightest hint of apology in his tone. I'm only interested in matters related to Yaoya. As for matters related to the two of you, Lu Benlai interrupted Lin Jiej's words in time because he knew that it couldn't be anything good. Boss, you don't have to say anything else. We know that our matters aren't important to you at all. Lin Jiej. It's not that it's not important. It's just that it's not worth mentioning. On the screen, Lu Benlai was dumbfounded. So, even though I tried my best to minimize the damage, I still ended up getting hurt? Xia Shangzhou glared at Lu Benlai in displeasure, reprimanding him for speaking out of turn. After which, he turned to Lin Jiej and said, Boss, why don't you tell us what the matter related to Little Junior is? Are you intending to confess to her again? Or did she accompany you for supper tonight because of your heroic act? Or, none of them? Xia Shangzhou made many guesses, but none of them were correct. After rejecting her suggestion, Lin Jiej leaned lazily against the headboard before continuing. What I want to say is, Yao Yao is staying at my place now. What? Boss, what do you mean by that? Are you saying that Little Junior is living with you? Cohabitation? This term did seem to fit the relationship between him and Soft Bun quite well. Even though this cohabitation was something that he had tricked her into, it was still cohabitation. Lin Jiej nodded reservedly. You can say so. Lu Benlai, heck, isn't this development a little too fast? In that case, didn't boss no longer belong to the category of being single? Then sure lie, your bullsh *t conclusion will collapse by itself. Xia Shangzhou, isn't the heavens too unfair? I can't accept this. Not satisfied. He held it in with this thought in mind. Lin Jiej continued leisurely. Also, I realize that Yao Yao seems to prefer me when I'm naked. Chapter 551. Ignoring Xia Shangzhou's exclamation, Lin Jiej continued, in comparison, the two of you are much worse off. One of you hasn't found a girl that he likes yet. Lin Jiej purposely emphasized on the word, can. And after seeing Xia Shangzhou's frozen expression, he slowly turned his gaze back to Lu Benlai and said, the first one is someone who finally found a girl he likes, but it's already been a semester, and he still hasn't gotten her number. Hearing Lin Jiej's words, Lu Benlai's expression turned as stiff as Xia Shangzhou's. Looking at the two silent figures in the video call, Lin Jiej's mood suddenly lightened up. Right, I almost forgot to tell you that Yao Yao helped me change my bedsheets, undress me, and even helped me put on my clothes. Lu Benlai mechanically turned his head around to look at Xia Shangzhou, and in the next second he unceremoniously scolded him. Who asked you to spout such a cheap mouth? Why did you come up with such a conclusion out of nowhere? Are you satisfied now? You must have been tortured, right? Xia Shangzhou wanted to retort, but he only managed to get one word out before he raised his hand and made a fake gesture to slap his own face. That's right. Who asked you to come up with a conclusion when you had nothing better to do? Are you satisfied now? You must have been tortured, right? On the other end of the video call, Lin Jiej didn't seem to have any intention of letting the matter rest. After the two of them were done speaking, he continued, oh, there's one more thing. I'm injured. So, as my roommates, you should pay me a visit at my place, right? I've already thought of the gifts you should bring. Old Xia a nut gift bag and old Lu a cheesecake. Xia Shangzhou, Boss, when did you fall in love with eating these things? Lin Jiej, it's not me, it's Yao. Lu Benlai, the heck? Grandson, can you please shut up? Every time you open your mouth you implicate me. It was just a moment ago that I was tortured, and now you're making me eat dog food. I really want to beat you to death, you unfilial bastard. Before Lu Benlai could finish his words, Lin Jiej had already cleared his throat and replied, oh. He had barely uttered a single word when Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou immediately chimed in. Lu Benlai, boss, my phone is out of battery. I'll hang up first. Xia Shangzhou, boss, I just remembered that I still have work to do. I have to work overtime. After which, before Lin Jiej could say anything, the two of them left a goodbye, boss. Good night, boss, before cutting off the video call. After falling asleep, Shi Yao had no idea how long she had slept for before she awoke from thirst. With her eyes half closed, she climbed out of bed, walked out of the bedroom, and headed for the dining room. In a daze, she poured herself a glass of water and gulped it down. Then she staggered toward the bedroom. The door to her room and Lin Jiej's room was right next to each other. As she was simply too sleepy, her eyelids kept drooping as she made her way back to her bedroom. When she reached the door, she didn't even bother to check whether it was her bedroom or not before she pushed it open, closed it and walked in. Shi Yao walked up to the bed and fell headfirst onto it. The air conditioner was turned on, so the temperature in the room was a little low. Thus, Shi Yao began searching for a blanket while she slept. She fumbled around for a long time but did not manage to find the blanket. Instead, she felt something soft and warm. Chapter 553. Due to the cold, Shi Yao didn't think too much about it. She moved closer to where her hand was and curled up into a ball to warm herself up. The room was very quiet. Feeling the warmth, Shi Yao's body and mind quickly relaxed, and her breathing gradually became steady and long. Just as Shi Yao was about to fall into a deep slumber, she vaguely heard the faint sound of a person's breathing. She opened her eyes in shock, and her consciousness cleared up a little. However, it only lasted for a short 10 seconds before her consciousness was overwhelmed by drowsiness once more. She thought that she was hallucinating, and her eyelids slowly closed. Just as she was about to close her eyes, she heard a light breathing sound once more. This time it was much clearer than before. Yao was certain that she wasn't dreaming, but due to her fatigue, her brain was moving a little slowly. Around half a minute later, she finally realized that the breathing sound meant that there was someone lying beside her. Then, she suddenly opened her eyes. Under the dim light of the room's bedside lamp, a face so handsome that it would leave one mesmerized came into view without any warning. She was right next to that handsome face. She was so close that she could see the wrinkles on that face. Yao widened her eyes in shock as she stared at the side profile of Lin Jiej's face for an entire minute. Only then did she reflexively move backward. It was only then that she realized that she had run right into Lin Jiej's bed. Yao's drowsiness vanished in an instant, and as if she had just received a huge shock, a realization flashed across her mind. In the next second she rolled off the bed and onto the floor. Why did I run into Lin Jiej's room? Walking into the wrong room in the middle of the night? Isn't this a little too frightening? Those who didn't know better might even think that she was intentionally throwing herself at him. What was even more frightening was that in her daze, she even touched Lin Jiej. Not only did she touch him, she even moved her body to his side and pressed herself tightly against his body. The more Yao thought about it, the more she felt her mind crumbling. Ignoring the pain she felt when she rolled off the bed, she immediately got up from the floor and prepared to leave. I've been in his room for a while now, but he hasn't said a word or moved at all. He's probably asleep, right? However, Lin Jiej seemed to be sleeping rather soundly. With such thoughts in mind, Yao, who was running out of the door, suddenly turned around to look behind her. Lin Jiej lay motionlessly on the bed. He was only covered with a thin blanket, pressed against his abdomen. His injured right hand was placed outside. He looked very quiet, as if he was really in deep sleep. Yao heaved a sigh of relief. She decided to keep the fact that she had walked into the wrong room as a secret that she would keep in her heart for the rest of her life. Of course, Yao didn't dare to linger in the room for too long. She quickly retracted her gaze and quietly slipped out of the room. However, she had only taken 2 steps when she heard a muffled groan coming from behind her. Yao halted her footsteps. It was quiet behind him again. She stood there for a moment, and after confirming that there was nothing wrong with her, she decided to raise her leg. However, before she could do so, Lin Jiej harumphed coldly behind her. That voice was really strange. Chapter 554. As she got closer, Yao realized that the sleeping Lin Jiej's complexion was a little awful. His eyebrows were tightly knitted together, and the skin on his lips had dried up. His breathing seemed to be taking a lot of effort, as if he was struggling to catch his breath. Was Lin Jiej having a nightmare? Or, without thinking too much into it, Yao called out, Lin Jiej. Lin Jiej. She called out his name several times, but he didn't show any signs of waking up. Lin Jiej. When Yao called out his name once more, she couldn't help but reach out to touch his shoulder. Through his clothes, Yao could clearly feel a scorching sensation. Her fingers trembled, and she instinctively retracted her hand. In the next instant, Yao finally understood what was going on. She subconsciously reached out to touch Lin Jiej's forehead, and she realized that his temperature was shockingly high. It was no wonder why she felt that there was something wrong with his voice earlier. It would be weird if he didn't feel uncomfortable with such a high fever. What else could she say? He's sleeping soundly. How is this sleeping soundly? He's clearly in a daze from the fever. As these thoughts flashed across Yao's mind, she slowly recalled how warm he was and how she leaned against him. But that wasn't warmth at all. It was the heat from a high fever. Yao tried calling out Lin Jiej's name another 2 more times, but he still didn't show any signs of waking up. So she ran to the bathroom and soaked a towel in cold water before wringing it dry. After which, she ran back to the bed and carefully folded the towel into a square before placing it on Lin Jiej's forehead. After doing a simple physical cooling for Lin Jiej, Yao ran back to her bedroom and changed back into the clothes she had changed out of during the shower. After which, she grabbed Lin Jiej's car keys and headed to the underground parking lot. After exiting the neighborhood, Shi Yao drove for less than 5 minutes before she saw a 24-hour pharmacy by the roadside. She quickly stepped on the brakes. A second after the car came to a halt, she got out and rushed into the pharmacy. After buying a thermometer and fever medicine, Shi Yao decided to ask the owner of the pharmacy for help when she was paying the bill. The owner was very enthusiastic, and he told her how to cool down her fever if it didn't subside. After thanking him, Shi Yao grabbed a bottle of alcohol and a bag of cotton balls before leaving the pharmacy and rushing back to Lin Jiej's house. After closing the door to the living room, Shi Yao removed her shoes and ran to Lin Jiej's bedroom. She stretched out her finger to feel his breathing, and after confirming that his breathing was normal, she heaved a sigh of relief. She took the warm towel from his forehead and took it back to the bathroom to soak it in cold water before placing it back on Lin Jiej's forehead. Shi Yao took out the thermometer and stuffed it into Lin Jiej's mouth before heading to the dining room. Not too long later, Shi Yao returned with a cup of water in hand. She placed the bottle of water on the bedside table and took out the fever medicine. After reading through the instruction manual, she realized that 3 minutes had already passed. Thus, she took the thermometer from Lin Jiej's mouth and raised it to her eyes to take a look at the result. 39 degrees Celsius. His fever was so high. No wonder he didn't react when she rolled off his bed and made such a loud noise. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao took out the fever medicine. She stuffed the medicine into his mouth and picked up the glass of water. Chapter 555. I can't go on like this. No matter what, I have to take the medicine. Shi Yao tried a few more times to feed Lin Jiej water, but it was to no avail. She suddenly recalled a web drama she'd watched at home during her winter break. The male and female leads in the drama were both celebrities, and the male lead was the best actor in the film. When he had a fever, the female lead had to take care of him. It was a little similar to the current situation between her and Lin Jiej. The medicine wouldn't go down his throat no matter how hard she tried, and in a moment of desperation, the female lead had to force the medicine down his throat by mouth to mouth. Was she going to feed Lin Jiej medicine like that too? Just the thought alone made Shi Yao's face redden. After a moment of hesitation, she tried feeding Lin Jiej water once more. This time, not only did the water not go down his throat, he even spat out the medicine that she worked so hard to stuff into his mouth. Frowning, Shi Yao quickly grabbed a napkin and wiped away the water and medicine from the corner of Lin Jiej's mouth. After which, she stared at his slightly pale lips for a moment before gritting her teeth and taking out the fever medicine once more. After stuffing the fever medicine into Lin Jiej's mouth, Shi Yao raised the cup of water and gulped down a mouthful. After which, she leaned forward and pressed her lips against Lin Jiej's lips, using the tip of her tongue to pry open his lips and slowly drip the water into his mouth. In order to ensure that the medicine would enter Lin Jiej's stomach smoothly, Shi Yao even used the tip of her finger to push the medicine into his mouth as she fed him water. As Shi Yao was pressing her lips against Lin Jiej's, he managed to swallow most of the water, and even the medicine was flushed down his throat. However, as Shi Yao wasn't aware of the situation, she was afraid that the medicine might be stuck somewhere, preventing him from swallowing it. So after Lin Jiej had swallowed all of the water in his mouth, she used the tip of her finger to scan his mouth to ensure that there wasn't any medicine inside. Only then did she finally stop her actions. After ending his video call with Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou, Lin Jiej lay on his bed, reminiscing about everything that had happened that night from start to end, and as expected, he entered the bathroom for the 5th time. When he came out, Lin Jiej started sneezing nonstop. It was too late. Feeling a little unwell, he fell asleep after lying on the bed for a short while. In a daze, he felt that his whole body was very hot, and it was a little difficult to breathe. His throat was sore and dry. He vaguely knew that he had a fever, but his whole body was so tired and uncomfortable that he couldn't open his eyes. He fell asleep just like that. After an unknown period of time, he felt a cool sensation on his forehead, which made him feel much more comfortable in the high temperature. Then there was water in his dry and painful throat, but the taste of the water was slightly bitter. Perhaps it was the effect of the water and the coolness of his forehead that made him slightly more conscious. He felt a touch of softness across his lips and teeth, bringing with it a numbing and stimulating pleasure. Even though he was still in a daze, he could still tell that the softness belonged to Soft Bun. He thought that he was having some kind of romantic dream, so he allowed himself to be immersed in it, unable to extricate himself. However, this beautiful dream only lasted for a very, very short moment before she left him. Chapter 556. As this thought flashed across Lin Jiej's mind without any hesitation, he caught hold of Shi Yao's lips and kissed them fiercely. Shi Yao, who had already left Lin Jiej's lips, was shocked by his sudden action. She froze on the spot, unable to react at all. She allowed Lin Jiej to kiss her as he pleased for quite a while before she slowly realized what they were doing at that very moment. Shi Yao subconsciously began to struggle, trying to break free from Lin Jiej's kiss. Her resistance and evasion made the frown on Lin Jiej's forehead deepen. He thought that he was still in a dream. Is it because she doesn't like me? Even in his dreams, he would subconsciously imagine the scene of her rejecting him. He wouldn't force her, and he couldn't bear to force her. But in his dreams, why don't I be selfish just this once? Just this once. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej raised his left hand, and with a slightly trembling hand, he forcefully grabbed the back of Shi Yao's head and deepened the kiss. Compared to before, Lin Jiej's kiss this time was domineering and decisive. It felt as if he was going to swallow her whole. Shi Yao had never been kissed in such a manner before. She was both shocked and shocked at the same time. Her eyes widened as she stared blankly at Lin Jiej's long and alluring eyelashes. Her mind was completely blank. He used all of his strength to grind against the corner of her lips. Then, as if feeling that it wasn't enough, he pried open her teeth and barged in. He wrapped his lips around her and kissed her deeply. The room was extremely quiet, so quiet that Shi Yao could hear his heavy and hurried breathing, as well as the intimate sounds of their kisses that could make one's heart race. As these voices continued to drill into Shi Yao's ears, she could clearly feel his hand slowly moving downward, eventually landing on her waist. He pulled her tightly into his embrace, and his strength was so domineering that she nearly suffocated from the suffocation. This kind of kiss lasted for an unknown period of time. It was only when Shi Yao's entire body felt light that Lin Jiej finally let go of her. His breathing had become even more unsteady than before. He seemed to feel that it wasn't enough. His lips stayed on her lips for a little while before he moved down the corner of her lips to her chin and moved all the way down. It was only when his breath landed on her collarbone that Shi Yao realized that the two of them seemed to have gone way too far. Just as his scorching lips were about to reach her neck, she hurriedly called out, "Lin Jiej, don't do this." As if he hadn't heard her voice, he bit down hard on her skin. It was a little painful, but there was also an indescribable excitement. This unfamiliar feeling made Shi Yao's entire body shudder, and she panicked even more. "Lin Jiej, let go of me. Lin Jiej." Perhaps her repeated rejections made him unhappy. He suddenly flipped over and pressed her under his body. Then he lowered his head and buried his face in her neck. His weight and dominance made Shi Yao fearful. She pushed and dodged him, but not only did she fail to escape from him, she even made him even more frenzied. Every kiss he gave her felt like he was going to devour her alive. Chapter 557. Lin Jiej. After Shi Yao had called out Lin Jiej's name for the umpteenth time, the frenzied man finally calmed down. He didn't leave her body immediately. He lay on her shoulder, panting heavily. His chest rose and fell, and his eyes were closed. His brows were still flowing with messiness and passion that hadn't calmed down. Even if it was just a dream, even if he had decided to be willful just this once, he still couldn't help but force himself to stop when he heard her soft and pitiful voice. Even if it was just an illusion, he couldn't bear to force her to do something she didn't want to do. Even if he really wanted her, even if he was in great pain. Lin Jiej waited for the raging passion in his body to subside before he slowly raised his head and planted a very gentle kiss on her forehead. After that he flipped over and left her body. The weight on her body disappeared, and Shi Yao heaved a sigh of relief. She didn't dare to linger on the bed for too long. She quickly got off the bed and ran out of Lin Jiej's bedroom as if she was running for her life. After closing the door to Lin Jiej's bedroom, Shi Yao felt as if her entire body had collapsed. She leaned against the wall, completely motionless. A long while later, she gently raised her hand and pressed it against her chest. It was then that she realized that her heart was beating really quickly. Alone in the living room, Shi Yao fell into a daze for a long time before she finally regained her senses. She was still a little fearful of what had just happened. She wanted to return to her room to rest, but when she thought about his high fever, she couldn't help but feel a little worried. She paced back and forth in front of the door, conflicted for a moment. Eventually, she pushed the door open slightly and peeked her head in to assess the situation in the room. Lin Jiej was lying motionlessly on the bed. When she fed him the medicine earlier, she had turned on the lights in the room, and the bright light allowed her to see the expression on his face. It was very calm, as if he had fallen asleep. Only then did Shi Yao dare to step into the bedroom. She walked up to the bed and touched Lin Jiej's head. It was still burning. The boss of the pharmacy had told her that if the fever persisted, she would have to send him to the hospital for a checkup. So Shi Yao decided to pull a chair over and sit by Lin Jiej's bedside. Afraid that she would fall asleep, Shi Yao's eyes darted around her, and eventually, her gaze fell on Lin Jiej's face. She stared at him for a while, and the scene of him pressing her under his body and kissing her passionately appeared in her mind. Shi Yao's face reddened, and she quickly averted her gaze. A few minutes later, Shi Yao reached out to touch Lin Jiej's forehead, but his fever still showed no signs of subsiding. She couldn't help but look at the time on the wall. It had been about 2 hours since she took the medicine. The medicine should have taken effect long ago. Why hadn't the fever subsided yet? Shi Yao recalled the method the pharmacy owner had told her to rub alcohol on her body to cool it down. She struggled for a moment, but in the end she still unbuttoned Lin Jiej's shirt, picked up some cotton balls and alcohol, and began wiping his body clean. Shi Yao's face began to heat up once more. After she was done, she looked out of the window and calmed down. Chapter 558. Shi Yao's worried heart finally calmed down. Having spent most of the night taking care of Lin Jiej, Shi Yao couldn't help but lie down on the edge of the bed. Worried that Lin Jiej would suddenly run a fever again, she would raise her hand to touch his forehead from time to time. She had no idea how many times she had checked Lin Jiej's temperature, but she knew that on the last try, Lin Jiej's temperature had returned to normal. Then she heaved a sigh of relief, and she didn't even have the strength to return to her room. She simply lay down on the edge of the bed and fell asleep. The next day, when Lin Jiej opened his eyes, the sun was already shining brightly outside. It was already noon. He felt like he had experienced many things while he was asleep, but he couldn't recall what they were. Out of habit, the first thing he did after waking up was to reach for his phone. But as soon as he raised his hand, he came into contact with something soft and delicate. Frowning, he turned his head over and saw Shi Yao lying on the edge of the bed, sleeping soundly with her arms as her pillow. Why would Soft Bun be sleeping by his bed? Lin Jiej was stunned for a moment before he began scanning his surroundings. The fever medicine on the bedside table, a glass that was less than a quarter full of water, a half-wet towel, an alcohol bottle, a cotton ball. Everything fell into Lin Jiej's line of sight, and he instantly understood everything. When he was sleeping last night, he felt that his body wasn't feeling well. So, did he suffer from a high fever in the middle of the night? He hadn't stayed in this house much, so there wasn't any medicine in the house. In other words, Soft Bun had gone out to buy medicine for him in the middle of the night? An indescribable ecstasy swiftly engulfed Lin Jiej's heart, causing his lips and eyes to curl up uncontrollably into a smile. Didn't this mean that Soft Bun was actually very concerned about him? He had to report the situation to those two fellows in room 501 so that they would know just how big of a difference there was between him and those two single dogs. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej picked up his phone and started typing. While he was typing on the keyboard, he suddenly paused and grinned for a moment before continuing on with his typing. Just as he was about to finish typing, a question suddenly occurred to him. He and Soft Bun slept in different rooms, so how did she know that he had a fever in the middle of the night? Could it be that Soft Bun had sneaked into his room in the middle of the night? The possibility of that seemed to be zero. He must have been daydreaming. He was probably asking for help because his fever was unbearable. In his mind, Lin Jiej imagined himself screaming for help non-stop, and he suddenly felt extremely embarrassed. But then again, Soft Bun must be exhausted after standing guard for an entire night, right? Lin Jiej's gaze fell on Shi Yao's face, and deep heartache surfaced in his eyes. He stared at Shi Yao's sleeping face for a moment, and he couldn't help but reach out to touch her cheek. However, before his fingertips could touch her skin, Shi Yao opened her eyes and changed her position, probably due to the discomfort of sleeping on her stomach. Then, upon seeing that Lin Jiej had woken up, she closed her eyes for 2 seconds before opening them once more. "You're awake?" Shi Yao asked as she reached out to touch Lin Jiej's forehead. "Your fever is finally gone." Lin Jiej's body tensed up from Shi Yao's touch. He waited for her to retract her hand, and roughly half a minute later, he finally spoke with a calm voice, "Last night you," but barely after he said those 3 words, the image of him pressing her beneath his body and kissing her passionately. Chapter 559. But barely after he said those 3 words, the image of him pressing her beneath him and kissing her passionately and madly flashed across his mind. Lin Jiej subconsciously frowned, and the words that he was about to say disappeared from his lips. It seemed like she was the one who took the initiative to kiss him, but a very short moment later, she retracted her lips. Following which, he turned from defense to offense and captured her lips. She struggled, but he held her head firmly in place and deepened the kiss. Toward the end, he wanted more, so his lips landed on her neck and slid downwards. Perhaps it was because he had gone too crazy and scared her, but she begged him softly and helplessly, saying something like, "Lin Jiej, please don't do this." His heart throbbed in pain and he didn't dare to touch her anymore. These scenes were so real that when he recalled them, he could still vaguely remember the stimulating and numbing feeling the scenes gave him. Couldn't possibly be real, could it? Lin Jiej couldn't tell if he was dreaming, or if he was really messing around due to his fever. He was conflicted for a moment before he finally turned his gaze to Shi Yao's face and asked, "Last night, did I?" For a moment Lin Jiej was at a loss for words and he stumbled. Shi Yao didn't quite understand what Lin Jiej was getting at, so she blinked her eyes at him curiously and asked with a gentle voice, "Did you do anything? Did you? Lin Jiej's head swiftly whirled around as he picked out a more reserved question. Why did you? What do you mean by that?" Shi Yao stared at Lin Jiej in bewilderment for a moment, but when she saw Lin Jiej's slightly reddened ears, she suddenly understood what he was referring to. Her face immediately reddened as well, and without any hesitation, she shook her head and said, "No, I didn't. What happened last night was simply too awkward." Since he asked such a question, it could only mean that he didn't remember it clearly either. This was exactly what she wanted. Let's just pretend that nothing had happened. Lin Jiej stared at Shi Yao for a moment, and he didn't think that she was lying. Could it be that the scene from last night was just a dream? Ever since he fell in love with her, he had dreamt of her at night, but the scenes were more or less illusory. However, last night was too realistic. In the end, Lin Jiej was still a little worried. Or rather, he was afraid that his actions would affect her impression of him. So, he pondered for a moment before asking once more, "Are you sure? There really isn't." Shi Yao rarely lied, and it was fortunate that their conversation was a little ambiguous at the moment, so her face wouldn't show any signs of redness. Thus she rejoiced inwardly. Then, in order to make herself look confident, she added on a seemingly fierce but actually harmless tone, "Besides, if it's really true, I'll just go home and ignore you." Lin Jiej feigned anger at Shi Yao and said, all right, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's think about what we're going to eat for lunch instead." Chapter 560. No problem. Lin Jiej took out his phone and gave a call to China World Hotel Beijing. "Is there anything else you'd like to eat?" Shi Yao counted on her fingers steamed shrimp egg, Shanjing roast goose, Yuxiang shredded pork, sweet and sour pork ribs. Lin Jie repeated the names of the dishes Shi Yao had mentioned to the person on the other end of the call. While Lin Jie was recording down the address, Shi Yao suddenly remembered that she hadn't washed up yet, so she ran to the bedroom next door to brush her teeth and wash her face. By the time Lin Jie hung up the call, Shi Yao still hadn't returned. He wasn't in a hurry to get out of bed. Instead, his gaze fell on the spot where Shi Yao had been lying earlier. Even though she wasn't there anymore, he could still picture her sleeping figure before his eyes. His brows and eyes became somewhat warm and soft. A moment later, he suddenly said, "I should have known." As he said those words, the gentleness in his eyes was masked by a faint layer of sorrow. Shi Yao hadn't closed the door to Lin Jie's bedroom when she left, so she didn't make a sound when she returned. Lin Jie, who was in a daze, didn't notice her. She was intending to head to the bathroom to help Lin Jie squeeze out some toothpaste, but when she passed by the bedside, she heard Lin Jie's voice. She instinctively turned to look at him and asked, "What is it?" Hearing her voice, Lin Jie swiftly came back to his senses. He lowered his eyelids to conceal the emotions in his eyes before turning back to Shi Yao. As if he hadn't said anything at all, he replied with an indifferent tone, "It's nothing." "Oh," Shi Yao replied. She continued staring at Lin Jie for a while longer, and seeing that there wasn't anything amiss with him, she thought that the hint of sorrow she had felt earlier was just her imagination. So, she pointed to the bathroom behind her and said, "I'll help you squeeze out some toothpaste. Hurry up and wash up." Lin Jie replied with an mem before falling silent. Shi Yao turned around and headed into the bathroom. Lin Jie stared at her back for a while before lowering his head slightly. I should have known. How could those scenes be real? How could she have kissed him on her own accord? That was a scene that would only appear in his dreams. Not too long after the two of them were done washing up, China World Hotel Beijing delivered the dishes that Lin Jie had ordered. The dining table was extremely quiet. From time to time, Lin Jie would glance at Shi Yao, who was eating with gusto. Lin Jie casually asked about the matter that he had been perplexed about back then, but he had forgotten about it due to those alluring scenes. "Oh right, did I have a fever last night?" With her mouth full, Shi Yao nodded her head vehemently in response to Lin Jie's question. In truth, he already knew the answer to this question. So, after hearing Shi Yao's reply, he replied with a nonchalant, "Oh, before getting straight to the point, how did you know that I had a fever last night?" Shi Yao was in the midst of drinking her soup when she heard those words, and she suddenly choked on her soup. With a reddened face, she began coughing violently. When Shi Yao finally regained her senses, she saw a napkin in front of her. After thanking him, she took the napkin from Lin Jie's hand and wiped her mouth, after which a conflicted look appeared on her face. Lin Jie's question was a little difficult to answer. Chapter 561. Shi Yao rarely lied, so it took her a lot of effort before she finally found a decent excuse. "Last night I was a little thirsty, so when I got up to get some water, I heard some noises coming from your room." Hearing those words, Lin Jie's heart jolted in shock. "It can't be that I called for help due to my high fever, right?" Lin Jie tried his best to maintain his composure. "What noises? Do you have to ask so many questions?" Shi Yao, who hadn't thought about such details before, couldn't help but feel a little guilty. However, Shi Yao understood the logic of, those who haven't eaten pork haven't seen a pig run. Even though it was rare for her to lie, she knew that since she was lying, she had to act as if she was in the right. With such thoughts in mind, she desperately tried to maintain the composure on her face as she said, "It's just the sound of coughing." A few times, Lin Jie nodded in relief. "Is that so?" Perhaps it was because she was lying, but Shi Yao felt that those 3 words sounded a little weird. She discreetly grasped the chopsticks in her hands and rolled her eyes before continuing, "That's right, that's how it is. Actually, I didn't think too much about it at the start. It's only because you were injured that the doctor told me to keep an eye on you, so I knocked on your door to check if you were all right. However, after knocking for a long time, you didn't respond at all. I thought that something had happened to you, so I pushed the door open and barged in without permission. In the end, I realized that your fever was really bad, Just like boiled beef slices. Boiled beef slices. Lin Jiej. Lin Jiej's analogy sounded really like Shi Yao's. After confirming from Shi Yao's words that he hadn't called for help last night, Lin Jiej didn't dwell on Shi Yao's analogy for too long before speaking up once more. Then I really have to thank you for last night. If you hadn't paid attention to me, I might still be suffering from a high fever. Hearing Lin Jiej's words, Shi Yao knew that she had managed to get away with it. It's fine. I stayed behind to take care of you anyway. Lin Jiej picked up a piece of boiled meat and gestured for her to eat while it was still hot. Shi Yao replied with a soft thank you, before lowering her head to dig into her food. Lin Jiej watched as Shi Yao continued eating, and he calmed himself down. So it's just a cough. Thank goodness at least my image isn't ruined. When Lin Jiej finally retracted his gaze and lowered his head to continue eating, Shi Yao discreetly raised her eyes to look at Lin Jiej. Seeing that his expression was as calm as ever, she heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. Turns out that Lin Jiej is actually so gullible. It's fortunate that I'm smart enough. After dinner, Shi Yao cleaned up the leftovers on the table before making a trip back to school. Lung Nuan, Zhang Yu, and He Tian were all in the dormitory room. As soon as Shi Yao entered, the first thing she did was to check on Lung Nuan. Other than the slight bruise on the corner of her lips and the slight redness on her face, the latter had already reverted back to her usual calm and composed self. Worried that something might happen to Lin Jiej at home, Shi Yao didn't linger in the dormitory room for too long. She packed up some clothes, grabbed her phone and left the academy. After returning to Lin Jiej's house, the first thing Shi Yao did after changing out of her shoes was to head over to Lin Jiej's house to take a look. Perhaps it was because of the fever he had last night, but he hadn't fully recovered. After she left, he fell asleep on the bed again. Chapter 562. Shi Yao had spent the entire night taking care of Lin Jiej, so she didn't get much sleep, and neither did she sleep well. Seeing that Lin Jiej had fallen asleep without a blanket in the air-conditioned room, she walked over to the side of the bed, pulled the blanket over him, and gently placed it on his forehead. After confirming that his body temperature was normal, she tiptoed out of the bedroom, closed the door behind her, and headed to the next room to catch up on her sleep. Shi Yao slept deeply and for a long time. By the time she woke up, the sky had already darkened. Shi Yao abruptly sat up, picked up her phone and took a look at the time. It was already 8 o'clock in the evening. I've actually slept for 5 hours. Has Lin Jiej woken up yet? Did he encounter any trouble after waking up? With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao hurriedly tossed her phone aside, leaped out of bed, and ran out of the room without even putting on her shoes. Out of habit, she headed to the next room, but just as she was about to reach the door, she caught sight of Lin Jiej, who had woken up at some point in time, sitting on the sofa. She subconsciously stopped what she was doing and turned her head to take a look. The young man was sitting leisurely on the sofa with a laptop placed on his knees. His uninjured left hand was swiftly tapping on the keyboard from time to time. Is he busy with something? This is the first time I've seen him busy. Shi Yao was just about to ask Lin Jiej what he was having for dinner, but the words vanished from her lips. She couldn't help but stare at the focused Lin Jiej. Perhaps sensing that someone was looking at him, Lin Jiej casually raised his head to glance in the direction of the bedroom after tapping on the keyboard with his left hand. When he saw Shi Yao, he was just about to retract his gaze when he abruptly froze. You're awake? Lin Jiej asked softly. Without waiting for Shi Yao's reply, he added, Give me a moment. As he said those words, he lowered his head to look at the laptop screen before tapping on the keyboard once more. But this time, after knocking a few times, he suddenly raised his head and glanced in Shi Yao's direction. His gaze eventually fell on Shi Yao's bare feet. A slight frown appeared on his forehead. Why did you run out just like that? For a moment, Shi Yao couldn't understand what Lin Jiej was referring to, so she replied with a confused, Forget it, I'll deal with the remaining projects later. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej placed his laptop by the side and stood up to walk over to Shi Yao. Shi Yao thought that Lin Jiej was going to stop right in front of her, but instead her gaze followed him all the way to the bedroom she'd been sleeping in before circling around her. Just as Shuryao was about to ask Lin Jiej what was going on, she saw Lin Jiej bending down to pick up the slippers that she had kicked all over the place. So what did he mean when he asked her just now? Was he referring to her not wearing shoes? While Shuryao was still in a daze, Lin Jiej had already bent down to place the slippers in front of her and said, "Put them on. You might catch a cold." He was supposed to be busy, but when he saw that she wasn't wearing any shoes, he put down his computer and came to get her shoes for her. For some reason, Shuryao was moved by such a small detail. She didn't react to Lin Jiej's words at all. Instead, she lowered her head and stared blankly at the bent Lin Jiej. Seeing that the young lady wasn't reacting, Lin Jiej squatted down, grabbed her ankle and placed the slippers on her feet. Chapter 563. His fingertips were very warm, and when they came into contact with Shuryao's slightly cold ankle, she couldn't help but shudder a little before snapping out of her thoughts. "Let me," Shuryao subconsciously said. But before she could finish her words, Lin Jiej had already helped her put on her slippers, so she could only change her words. "Thank you." Lin Jiej shot a glance at Shuryao, but he wasn't in a hurry to speak. Instead, he stood up, lowered his head and asked softly, "Are you hungry? Is there anything you'd like to eat?" Just like in the afternoon, Shuryao tilted her head to the side and pondered for a moment before reciting a list of dishes. Lin Jiej's phone wasn't with him, but he didn't interrupt her either. After she was done, he walked over to the sofa, picked up his phone and dialed a number. After which, he repeated the list of dishes Shuryao had recited without missing a single word. Just like in the afternoon after dinner, Shuryao was the one to clear the dining table. By the time she walked out of the dining room, the living room was empty. Lin Jiej was nowhere to be seen. Along with him, his laptop was also nowhere to be seen. Shuryao knew that Lin Jiej had probably gone to his study or bedroom to work, so she didn't disturb him and returned to her own bedroom. Shuryao hadn't looked at her phone since last night, so she lay on her bed and began replying to WeChat. Around 9 o'clock last night, less than 111,111 had left her a message. "Are you playing?" Even though it had already been 24 hours, Shuryao still replied with a message. "I was busy last night, so I didn't check my phone." There was no reply. A moment later, Shuryao sent another message. "Are you playing?" This time Mr. Numbers responded to her message. "I might not be able to play for a while." Shuryao thought that Mr. Numbers would be busy like he had been for the past 2 months, so she asked, "Are you busy again?" Less than 111,111. That's not it. Less than 111,111. My hand is injured. My hand is injured? What a coincidence, it's the same as Lin Jiej. With such thoughts in mind, Shuryao sent out the words in her heart. What a coincidence. My fiancé's hand is injured too. After replying to Shuryao's message, Lin Jiej put down his phone and continued working on his project single-handedly. At this moment, his phone screen lit up once more. And after he finished typing his message, he picked up his phone to take a look. When he saw the words "my fiancé," the serious look in his eyes immediately softened. After a while, a new message popped up on his phone screen. "Yao loves ice cream. How did you get injured? Is it serious?" Lin Jiej typed. "It's alright, it's not that serious." After a moment of contemplation, Lin Jiej added, "I got injured in a car accident." So, Mr. Numbers had been in a car accident. Unlike Lin Jiej, he was injured in a fight. With such thoughts in mind, Shuryao replied to less than 111,111. "Take good care of yourself then. We'll play again after you've recovered." 111,111. After chatting with Mr. Numbers for some time, Shuryao knew that this full stop represented an "okay." She replied with an emoji before opening her conversation with Mr. Numbers and heading over to the sexy and frisky group. "Beep beep beep, is there anyone who wants to play?" A minute later, as usual, Song Chaoshi popped up to feed dog food. "I'm watching a movie with my girlfriend." Chapter 564. Yao loves ice cream. The other party rejected your dog food and knocked over the dog bowl. Expert of the monkeys. While a dog sits at home, food falls from the sky. Juice. We agreed to be single dogs together, but you secretly flirted with a cat. Song Chaoshi sent a voice message. Yao tapped on it and it was a female voice. Who are you calling a cat? Expert of the monkeys. Junjun, hurry up and torture him. Juice. I'm a cat. I'm a cat in the alley. I'm free but I don't have a home. This was the first time someone had described themselves as single in such a refreshing manner. Yao was just about to reply to Juice when a new message popped up on her screen. 111,111. Cats that live to your age are long gone. Only tortoises live longer, so your sentence should be like this. I am a tortoise swimming in the river. I am very free, but I have no place to return to. Pfft. Upon seeing Mr. Number's message, Yao nearly burst into laughter. What a vicious and despicable sentence. Expert of the monkeys. 666 Song Chaoshi. 6666666 Yao's laughter died away. 666666666 Juice. 55555555555. Mr. Numbers didn't reply anymore. Song Chaoshi and his girlfriend were probably watching a movie, so they didn't say anything else either. Left with no choice, Yao could only copy and paste the message from Juice and Expert. DDDD, is there anyone who wants to play? Juice. I'm sorry Sis Yao, but I don't have time tonight. I'll be heading home to get some blood circulation medicine. Expert of the monkeys. I'm sorry Sis Yao. I'm working overtime so I can't play. Yao replied with, oh, it's fine. I'll play another day then. Before leaving the sexy and frisky WeChat group, Yao was intending to log into the game to play alone, but as soon as she went online, Desolate Years sent her a game invite. Ever since the last time she played with Desolate Year, she was infuriated by the bitchy Desolate Year's little cutie, so she hadn't played with Desolate Year ever since. Now that Desolate Year invited her, she thought about it and chose to ignore it in the end. 3 seconds later, Desolation's invitation message appeared on the screen again. Just as Yao was about to press ignore again, Desolate Year suddenly sent her a private message in the game. Daddy, let's duo. Duos? In other words, the cute little bitch wasn't here? Yao was well aware of her own capabilities, and she knew that she would surely be tortured if she were to play alone. Even though Desolate Year wasn't as skilled as Mr. Numbers at the very least, she could still experience the game by following him around. Yao pondered for a moment before she clicked accept and entered Desolate Year's game room. In the afternoon, while Yao was sleeping, a light shower fell from the sky, and the temperature at night was a little cool. After staying in the air-conditioned room for too long, Yao felt a little uncomfortable. So, after playing a round of games with Desolate Year, she headed to the balcony. It was only after Yao sat down that she realized that Lin Jiej was also on the balcony. Just like what she saw when she woke up that night, Lin Jiej was seated on a chair on the balcony, tapping on his laptop from time to time. Chapter 565. Lin Jiej raised his head from the computer screen and glanced at Yao. I'm fine. Yao replied with an oh. Seeing that Lin Jiej had returned his attention back to the computer, she plugged in her earphones and went to play with Desolate Year. In the end, Yao was still afraid that she would disturb Lin Jiej, so she didn't speak much throughout the game. Even when she had to speak, she did so in a soft voice. Back when Lin Jiej was still in junior high, he could already play games on the computer while doing his homework. So, to the current him, it was a walk in the park for him to work on his project while listening to Yao's words. The atmosphere on the balcony was very harmonious. The sound of Lin Jiej typing on the keyboard and Yao's soft and mellow voice mixed together, creating a tranquil and peaceful atmosphere. Time always passed quickly when one was in the game or at work, and before they knew it, it was already 11 at night. After ending a game, Yao turned to Desolate Year and said, it's getting late so I'm not playing anymore. Desolate Year didn't try to persuade her to stay. He simply replied, alright. Yao bade him goodbye and was just about to leave the room when Desolate Year's voice sounded in her earphones once more. Right, Yao? Shi Yao hurriedly retracted her finger from the screen and asked, "What's wrong?" "Desolate year. Do you still remember what we agreed on that night when we stayed in the same hotel in Shenzhen?" Shi Yao pondered for a moment before recalling that she was going to report to school tomorrow. So she asked, "Are you talking about the meeting?" On the balcony, Lin Jiej heard Shi Yao's words, and his typing on the keyboard slowed down. That wild man was still thinking of meeting Soft Bun after obtaining "Desolate year, little cutie?" "Desolate year. Yes, that's it. I'll be heading to your school early tomorrow afternoon. However, didn't we agree on having dinner at the canteen? Tian told me that she wants to eat hot pot. And there's an authentic hot pot restaurant near your school called Spicy Hot Pot. Do you know about it? Let's eat there tomorrow, alright?" Even though it wasn't the location they had agreed on, considering that there were classmates she knew there, and it was a hot pot restaurant that she was familiar with, Shi Yao didn't think too much about it. "Sure, let's have hot pot tomorrow then." Shi Yao paused for a moment before asking what time. "Desolation. Probably between 7 and 8 o'clock? Is that okay?" Shi Yao. "No, I'll see you tomorrow night between 7 to 8. 7 o'clock in the evening to 8 o'clock that late?" The frown on Lin Jiej's forehead deepened, and even his fingers, which were swiftly tapping away on the keyboard, suddenly froze. After ending her conversation with "Desolate year," Shi Yao put away her phone, stood up, stretched her back and decided to take a bath. Before leaving, she shot a glance at Lin Jiej and asked, "Are you still busy?" Hearing those words, Lin Jiej hurriedly reined in his thoughts regarding his meeting with Shi Yao during the Desolate era and replied, "I'm still lacking." "Alright then. Rest early after you're done with your work. You just had a fever last night, so don't sleep too late today. I'm going to take a shower." Lin Jiej replied with a gentle before adding a good night. Shi Yao replied with a good night, before pushing open the door to the balcony and returning to her bedroom. When the curtains on Shi Yao's side were drawn, the light from her balcony instantly dimmed. Lin Jiej immediately took out his phone and logged into Desolate Year Little Cutie's game account. Chapter 566. Desolate Years was still in the game, and he hadn't gone offline yet. Lin Jiej tapped on his name and sent him a blushing smiley emoji. Soon a game invite from Desolate Years popped up on Lin Jiej's phone screen. Lin Jiej wasn't in a hurry to accept it. Instead, he found his earphones and plugged them into his ears before turning on the voice changer. After making sure that everything was ready, he entered Desolate Years' game room. "Desolate Years. Little cutie, didn't you say that you're going to start school soon and that you're busy catching up on your homework? Why are you online now?" Fearing that his conversation on the balcony would be overheard by Shi Yao, Lin Jiej returned to his room with his laptop and locked all the doors and windows. Then he lowered his voice and spoke into the voice changer. "I've done 8 papers today, and my hands are about to break." In order to make his words sound coquettish, Lin Jiej gritted his teeth and added, "And I. Desolate Years. Is it really that hard? What a pitiful little cutie. Let me help you rub it." "Rub your head, you perverted man." Lin Jiej cursed viciously in his heart, but an incredibly adorable came out of his mouth. Desolate Years started the game, and after entering the island he spoke up once more. "Little cutie, do you girls like to speak with such a tone? Soft and cute, very likable?" Lin Jiej wasn't able to comprehend what Desolate Years was referring to, so he feigned ignorance and asked, "What do you mean?" "Desolate Years. It's, do you still remember Yaoshi? The two of you used to play together, and just like you, she likes to, and your tone is exactly the same." Of course. How could he possibly not know his wife? Besides, what's wrong with having the same tone? This is called the husband following the wife. Lin Jiej lowered his eyelids and replied, "Is that so? I didn't even notice it." "Desolate Years. Yes, but your voice sounds better than Yaoshi's." "You'll probably say that your voice sounds better than Little Cutie's in front of Soft Bun, right? You're really a fickle man." With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej chuckled awkwardly at the voice changer. "Desolation. Little cutie, you look so cute when you smile. How adorable." Lin Jiej raised his head to look at the makeup mirror not too far away. If you want to know who this little cutie is, let's see if you can still say the word cute. Just like before, Lin Jiej chuckled sheepishly. It was fortunate that Lin Jiej had defined little cutie of the desolate years as a character that was a deep hole in the game. Thus, even though he could only move a single hand at the moment, he was still able to maneuver his way through the game like a fish in water. Just as he was nearing the end of a round, Lin Jiej suddenly spoke up. I can only play one round. I'm going to wash up and sleep later. Wash clean. Who coined this phrase? And he even logged in some cute girl's quote. So cold. Hearing his own words, Lin Jiej felt goosebumps rising all over his body. Desolation. Are you sleeping so early? Little cutie in the desolate years. Yeah, I'm taking the train to Beijing tomorrow. Chapter 567. Desolation. Beijing. Hearing desolate year's surprised tone, Lin Jiej knew that he had dug a trap successfully. Feigning ignorance about desolate year, he continued speaking. That's right. School is starting soon, so I have to return to school. However, I bought the train ticket late, so I can only head to Beijing first. I'll stay there for a night before heading to Hangzhou. Lin Jiej paused for a moment before adding, but I've never been to Beijing before, so I'm a little scared. I don't even know if I'll be able to find the hotel I booked. Scared? You must be joking. He was born and raised in Beijing. Putting aside finding a hotel, even if he was looking for a person, he would still be able to walk around the entire city without repeating himself. Hearing those words, Desolation spoke up. Cutie, you might not believe me, but I'm in Beijing right now. Knowing that Desolation was in Beijing, Lin Jiej couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment. That's great. Following which, Lin Jiej's astonishment turned into delight. Then, Big Brother Nian, can I look for you when I arrive in Beijing tomorrow? Desolation. Sure. Lin Jiej chuckled happily. Then with a conflicted look on his face he asked, but I don't know how I should look for you. Where should I go after I leave the train station? Which subway number or bus should I take? Lin Jiej paused for a moment before asking, will I get lost? Beijing is so big I'm really scared. Desolation was silent for 2 seconds on the other end of the game, as if he was contemplating something. A moment later he said, why don't we do this instead? I won't be live streaming tomorrow anyway. Tell me what time your train ticket is, and I'll pick you up at the train station. Desolation's little cutie. Can I really do that? 3 seconds later. Desolation's little cutie. Isn't that a little too troublesome? Big Brother Nian. Desolation seemed to enjoy Lin Jiej calling him Big Brother Nian. Upon hearing those words, he immediately replied, no, how could it be troublesome? It's my honor to pick you up. Having wanted Desolation to pick him up, Lin Jiej didn't turn it down. Thank you, Big Brother Nian. After a moment of contemplation, Lin Jiej added, to express my gratitude, I'll treat you to a meal tomorrow. Desolation. I'll treat you to a meal. I'll never let a girl spend money on me. Oh, this fickle wild man sure is chauvinistic, Lin Jiej. All right then. Thank you, Brother Nian. He paused for a moment before adding, I'll be at the train station at around 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. Desolation. 6:30. Knowing that he had a dinner date with Shuyao tomorrow, Lin Jiej feigned ignorance and asked, what's wrong? Brother Nian, are you busy at 6:30? Without waiting for Desolate Year to speak, Lin Jiej continued, I live near the train station, but I've never stayed in a hotel before. Brother Nian, can you accompany me in the hotel for a while tomorrow night? You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.